I'm just so loud. I hate speaking into them.
Make no comments.
When you left DMA South and you knew that you were going to Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, your first phone call was not to the mother of this minor child, was it?
I don't recall.
You called your mother, didn't you?
I don't recall.
In retrospect, should you have called the mother first
Likely yes.
so that she could get a head start on getting to Vanderbilt? Is that fair?
Yes.
But you didn't do that you recall, did you, sir?
Like I said, I don't recall in what order.
And did you let Ashley know also before you let the mother know?
I don't recall.
Okay. Now, when you told the court that for a period of a little bit close to a month that you guys exercised a 3-4-4-3 schedule, you told your wife at that time that she would be in legal trouble if she kept the minor child any more than half the time, didn't you?
I don't recall saying that.
Okay. Did you say anything to her about her getting in trouble for keeping the child from you?
It's possible.
And you can agree with me, sir, that you were manipulating her to some degree regarding visitation at that time. Is that fair?
I don't agree with that characterization.
Do you recall sending a text to your girlfriend, now fiance, that you were fucking around with Kayla?
I'd have to see. Do you have the context for the rest of the conversation?
I'll go through the, Judge, I need to go through these in order so Ms. Roberts can keep up with me. I'll get back to that. Now, Ms. Roberts went through a litany of inheritances you've had and things like that that you invested into the marital residence. Is it your testimony that Ms. Cuff didn't invest any time or money or anything into the residences?
She did pay the mortgage, not pay the mortgage, but she sent me a lump sum each month that was her contribution towards the bills.
Okay. And you two had established a home prior to the marital residence you just sold that she had put love and care and everything else into to make it gain value when you sold it. Is that fair?
Is there specifics? If you're talking about cleaning the house, there was one thing that was done where that I saved $4,000 and my parents paid the other $4,000 to enclose the back porch. But other than that, there weren't any upgrades made to the home.
Okay. But she kept the house. She helped decorate the house. She helped do things to that house, and you guys made money on that house. Is that fair? The first house you were in?
Yes, we made money on that
Okay.
house.
And that money was reinvested into the marital, the latest of the two marital residences. Is that fair?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's not your testimony today that she didn't have some sort of input with that. She didn't help out with that. Okay. And you cared so much for your family at the time that you had your affair that you pulled $37,000 out of retirement to move into an apartment away from your family. Did you do that?
Yes, I used that money to pay for.
Okay. Did you ask your wife if she had any issue with you pulling $37,000 out of retirement to set up a new residence?
No.
Did it occur to you that maybe you might ought to do that?
In hindsight, yes.
And you had already spoken to an attorney at that time about divorce, correct?
I pulled the money out prior to speaking to an attorney.
You agree with me that the regular routine at the house was for the two of you to give the child hugs and kisses at bedtime, and then the wife stayed in the room and read books to the child. Is that fair?
No.
Oh. So if she testifies to that, that's not accurate.
No.
She's a good mom, isn't she?
Yes.
Now, you agree that when you started having your extramarital affair that you were going to the gym earlier and earlier in the morning, sometimes leaving at 3 a.m. and 4 a.m.
Yes.
Okay. And that was time that you had taken away from the wife, is that correct? Time you had taken away from the child, I'm sorry.
I don't believe that that's true, at least for the week. It may have been for the weekend, those 2 days.
And she made sure that the minor child was up and awake and doing well.
Yes.
And during that time, even during days when you were available to keep the child still went to childcare, is that correct?
Is it? Yes.
And up and until this divorce petition was filed, or the complaint for divorce was filed, the child attended daycare regardless of your two work schedules, didn't he?
Yes.
And he likes daycare, doesn't he?
He likes daycare, but every time I go to take him to daycare, such as this morning, he asks to go back home.
Okay. Is it fair to say that that is good, the structure and the time that he is at daycare and the structure of daycare has been good for your child?
Yes, it's benefited him.
And it's benefited him socially, hasn't it?
It has.
Being the only child at home, he doesn't have siblings to help regulate, does he?
No.
Okay. Once this complaint for divorce was filed, you decided that he didn't need to go to daycare on your time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Was that by design so that you could try to sway this court to allow you to have more time with the child?
No, that was his needs changed as he got older, as well as my work schedule changed to allow me to be able to provide that direct care. And so I chose to do that.
But that's not something you chose to do or tried to rework your schedule before this complaint was ever filed?
His needs were different at that point in time. As he got older, it's easier to manage than an infant, for example.
Jennifer, I don't know. It's just front and back on it. When you were cheating with Ashley on your wife and your wife didn't yet know, were you making plans already for how you were going to try to get custody of the minor child with Ashley?
Making plans. I was seeking 50-50 custody.
Okay. But were you making plans with Ashley that you were going to coordinate, and I didn't state this clearly enough, so I apologize, that you were going to wait to go see her until you had a custody order in place?
I don't understand.
Were you calculated in how you were handling your relationship with Ashley and trying to figure out how you were going to do custody or visitation of your child?
I think we established the visitation. That was the 3443, and then the temporary parenting plan. We have what we have currently.
Do you recall her asking you, back to my point of once the convo has happened, you won't have to explain why you aren't going to be home at a certain time. You don't have to explain why you aren't home. She said that was redundant, multitasking, sorry. And you say 100% we could do weekends. You could do weekends with her is what you were saying. Is that correct? You want me to show it to you?
Sure.
Judge, may I approach since
You may.
we're there?
Text messages between two other individuals and another individual.
Ashley's statement.
And that's what I'm objecting to, that's it.
Well, I am going to overrule the objection and allow it to be introduced. I will consider only his responses to the, in that regard, any statement that Ashley has made in the statements or in these text messages will not be considered by the court for the truth of the matter, but will be considered only in the light of the discussion they're having and his responses. I think Ms. Duke is entitled to show if she's attempting to, what his attitude was regarding the custody arrangements prior to the filing of the divorce. But again, these parties have now in a divorce. Both of them wanted to be divorced. They are now divorced. We're thrashing around quite a bit about stuff that's not going to help this court in making the decision. But I'm going to overrule the objection and allow it.
I just want to caution about making the question. I have an objection to how she's phrasing it.
Ms. Duke, Ms. Roberts is objecting to you inferring something in the question. The court has done this long enough that I think I can read between the lines regarding your line of questioning and her objection. I'm allowing it in because I think it does tell the whole story to have the entirety of the text messages come in. I am not willing to accept any inference. I will draw my own inferences from what is said.
Back in February of 2025, you tell Miss Ashley, what did you say her last name was?
Jody.
And you told her, once I'm at my parents' house with a temporary custody order, I'll start catching flights.
Yes, I think what that meant was that I would be able to fly to see her on non-parenting time.
Or when your parents were
That's not what I meant by that statement.
Will it be marked as Exhibit 1?
Yeah, I could do a collective exhibit if that's easier, Judge.
All right, are you going to introduce a series of text
Yes.
messages?
Yes.
All right, then we'll mark them as Collective Exhibit 1.
Do you want me to have him circle what we were talking about? What he's reading is all I'm asking.
What he's reading is all I'm considering.
Well, may I have a sidebar with Ms. Roberts real
You
quick?
may. We're approaching the noon hour, and by the way, and apparently I'm going to have to meet with Captain Martin from the jail at 1:15, so I just wanted to let you guys know that, so.
I'll be excited, and so that, as long as you don't start right at 1 o'clock.
It'll probably be more like 1:30 before I can start back, but I'm just making you aware of that so that we can break at as close to noon as possible so that I can take care of this meeting. You can go do what you need to and resume at 1:30. What happened to the other case that you had? Do you want to keep talking or do you want to break for lunch now? Doesn't matter to me. I'm not cutting you off.
Probably, after she's got more to go through with this,
All
I
right.
would like to talk to Ms. Roberts.
I am all for that. We will stand at recess until 1:30 because of that meeting I have, so. All right.
I'm
Mr.
getting
Cuff,
Ms.
I would
Roberts.
remind you that you are under oath. Just have a seat. I think I told our clerk 1:30, so she's not back in here, but we'll go on without her.
I'm getting Ms. Roberts' text together, Judge. Try to condense it down. Mr. Cuff, Mother's Day was this past weekend. What did you do to make sure that the minor child had what he needed for Mother's Day?
Wasn't this past weekend, was it? Unless I'm badly mistaken.
Weekend before last. Time flies when you're having fun, Judge. What did you do to make sure the child celebrated the mother?
I didn't do anything with Bryce with that regard. He did make something at daycare that he gave to his mother.
You've heard your fiance say things to you about hurting Miss Cuff before, haven't you? Hurting Miss Cuff. Did y'all have a conversation about a gun?
I believe you're referring to some text messages about an insensitive joke regarding Miss Cuff and the gun safety course that she took and her being a bad shot or something like that. It was not any kind of threat and was in a private conversation.
Was it after she had said that she would kill her before Miss Cuff could kill her?
I'd have to see the rest of the context of the conversation.
You two have engaged, you and your fiance have engaged on multiple occasions speaking negatively about Miss Cuff, haven't you?
We've had some private moments of frustration, but nothing directly said.
Well, and your minor child has been present for some of those conversations, correct?
Not correct.
And the minor child sees how you treat the mother, is that fair?
I treat her with respect.
Can you agree with me that you've not always been respectful since the two of you have separated?
I disagree with that.
Okay. Well, I'll get to that in just a second, Judge. There have been multiple occasions wherein you've allowed your fiance to be on the phone calls between you and Miss Cuff, is that correct? And what purpose does that serve, sir?
Well, at the time, I believe you're talking about prior to the temporary, it was to help me if there was anything that was said because there was a lot going on. Again, it was a emotionally volatile point in time where a lot of things were being said, and I was trying to focus on executing the call with my son and enjoying him having an enjoyable call. And so I wasn't so much focused on all the other things that were occurring on the call.
But there were phone calls between you and your wife or your now ex-wife, wherein you had your fiance now be a part of that phone call because your fiance didn't want you to have conversations with Miss Cuff by yourself, did she?
That's not true.
Why did she have to be a part of the conversations, all of the conversations?
She wasn't a part of all of the conversations.
Does she know she wasn't a part of all the conversations?
Who-
Your fiance?
Does she know?
Do you have conversations with your fiance wherein you were trying to deceive your wife about where you were and when you were back in February of 2025?
Yes, that was the point of separation.
In particular, you were trying to think of how you were going to leave your wife and your son and go undetected to go see her. Is that correct?
Which conversation?
Judge, may I approach?
You may.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think of the best approach. I could say I have to be in office and could be there by 7 a.m.
Down here?
She doesn't leave until 7:15, so if I'm work from home, then I'd have to wait until she's out of Dixon and then leave.
And on this date, your wife was taking care of the child, is that correct?
No, I don't believe so. I believe this was a work day where that he would have been at daycare.
It was the very first time. And she would have taken the child to daycare, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so she was caring for the child.
These never materialized.
I'd submit that.
These are going to be collected, right?
Shortly after you left,
Which one are you referring to?
right here, Ms. Cuff,
Yes.
and your child's wanting to FaceTime you, is that correct?
I don't see where you're referencing the FaceTime call that he wants to
Or
FaceTime.
she wanted to call you, I'm sorry. The child wanted to call you
Where is it?
down in here, and then you say, what is your response?
Can you point me to where that we're talking about the call? I'm not seeing that, ma'am.
Call you before bed and tell you good night. You see that?
Oh,
And what was your response?
that I can't answer because I'm on a plane. You want me to read line by line?
What was your response to your fiance about the request for your son to call you? Starts with the word shit.
That was, oh, shit. I feel like she's using him to do this to me, and I can't answer because I'm on a plane.
Where were you on a plane to?
Washington.
Asked you to call his mother. Would you think that respectful or accurate that to think that you were using her?
I'm not understanding what you're asking me.
Now, you thought Ms. Cuff was using the child to call you.
Yes.
Would you think if you reached out to her and she wasn't available, do you think it would be reasonable for her to think that you were using the child?
No, I don't think that she would. I feel like I'm speculating on what she would think. She's called me twice and FaceTime 3 times. Apparently you. I'm just reading my messages. Yep, she's using the one thing that she can to try to force me to respond or answer. Oh, I'm fine with that part because I didn't get to spend some time with him, but I'm worried about her using this against me somehow. Or because I did get to spend some time with him.
So at the time, you were answering, you were on a plane to Washington, and your only concern was that she might try to use it against you in court.
Was that, I don't know that I read that the same way that you did.
Well, tell me how you read it.
May I see it again?
She will try to use this against me. What does that mean? Does it mean what I said it meant?
I think this doesn't. So, can you ask your question again? I think I understand now.
You were concerned that she was going to use it against you in court because you couldn't answer because you were on a plane to Washington, correct?
I'm not, was that part of the same conversation, the same thread,
Yes.
same date? Then,
And when you were in the hospital with the minor child, do you agree with me, sir, that you considered leaving,
the marriage,
no, you considered leaving the hospital multiple times?
I'm not sure. All I know is that I stayed there the entire time until Bryce was discharged.
Well, this might refresh your memory right here. In context, was your fiance upset with you about that?
Was she upset?
Yeah, was your fiance upset with you being in the hospital?
I believe she was upset. It looks like about the subject that was being discussed.
What was your response, sir?
How can I make it better? I won't sit beside her. I want out of this.
I want out of this, so you wanted out of the hospital.
I wouldn't say that I wanted out of the hospital. It was, the context here is that this was a highly emotional part where it was a fresh, I had just left, and it was a very, I would say, awkward. She was asking me a lot of questions in front of Bryce about me leaving, and that was uncomfortable.
In the meantime, you're texting with your girlfriend, and your girlfriend's in your earbud hearing everything.
It was until we ended the call. Yes, I think if I leave, she's going to use it against me.
So the only reason you didn't leave the hospital on that day,
That is not correct.
I know.
I would not have left my child in the hospital. I have been with him. He has had other issues where that he went to the ER another time he had turned blue at daycare, and I was the one that picked him up and took him to the ER. I would never leave him behind like that in an emergency situation or any situation.
And during this same time frame, she can be in your ear,
Well, I reiterate my ruling that at this point, I am allowing these messages to come in as exhibits because I'm considering his statements in those messages and not the statements of the girlfriend. So I have understood that, as Ms. Duke said, she is simply asking him what he said.
That's accurate. What did you tell her?
We can text and you can be in my ear. Will that work? Yes. Are you asking during the same time period?
Yes, while you're sitting there in the hospital along with your fiance and while your child is in the hospital.
I believe that's on her side, is it not? And that looks like the towel from my bathroom. That was a FaceTime call with her, but I don't think that that is the date that I would.
I'll take that one out, Jennifer. At one point while you were in the hospital,
Yes, that, I can only imagine that must have been after we discussed that Bryce would be going home with her.
okay,
But otherwise, I did have plans to leave that night.
okay, if you would please hand that to Ms. Collins. And one of your last statements, I let her take him, meaning your child, if I let her take him, I could literally leave this morning.
Yes, that's correct.
Do you recall what you told her about if you didn't get visitation with your child at that first hearing?
I do not.
Do you remember telling
That I would move where?
to Washington?
I do not. I said, I wish I could move there or you move here. Correct. Yes, of course, Bryce. My family is here.
And what did you say regarding what you would do?
I said, hang on, I need to read the thing for context. I said, yeah, I know. Honestly, we could just fly back and let my parents watch the kids.
And that takes you out of the equation, is that correct? Your parents watching the kids?
I believe that was referring to possibly a date night because we only have one kid, so that would have been referring to all three of the kids.
And there was one occasion you planted your Jeep at your parents' house and took their vehicle to the airport to keep Ms. Cuff from knowing you were leaving to go to the airport. Is that correct?
My parents would give me their Jeep and then wash mine for me. They washed my vehicle and they've washed hers before too.
Okay. But in your text messages, you disclose why you're doing that. You agree with me? So that you would go undetected
That she would drive by and see my Jeep.
at your parents' house?
Wait, that my Jeep would be at my parents' house?
Yes. Or I'm sorry, your Jeep would be at the house, at your house.
At least until the point that they were going to take it over there.
Was there another occasion when Ms. Cuff tried to FaceTime you and you were on a flight?
I'm not sure.
After you left your Jeep?
I'm not sure. Where would you like me to start? At the top? Mm-hmm. Yes, I had to get right with my parents. They backed off, let me drive their Jeep, so mine is sitting there. When Kayla comes, my mom unprompted asked if there was any way you would go on the cruise in May and we could go together. They actually think the world of you. She said you were really nice.
And then on that next page, after you had already left and your child was still with your parents, what did you tell the girlfriend?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Say on the next page, Kayla just tried to FaceTime me,
Yes.
okay? And down at the bottom, what did you say?
I said, do I lie and say I'm there?
Okay, and did you lie and say that you were with Bryce at your apartment?
Yes,
When in fact you weren't. You
that is correct.
were about subject matter, about what was going on? Is that fair to say, sir?
Yes.
Okay. And did you have a text conversation with her wherein you copied that text conversation, sent it to your girlfriend, and said, I'm fucking with Kayla?
Yes.
Sir, why would you do that when this is the mother of your child?
I believe at the time that I was frustrated with the way that I was being talked to. It was not.
And at one point in time, you reconciled and said, it sounds like I'm not getting 50.
I think at that point in time, do you have the date on this? This was all prior to the,
It was
the
prior
court.
to I
the
agree, it was
temporary
prior to April the 2nd. This is around March the 27th.
March the 27th.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure what I was referring to.
You weren't referring to custody?
Oh, no, that is referring to custody.
Looks like I'm not about to get 50-50, and then what does it say down below that?
Read it verbatim.
Yes.
That's a good question. It sounds like I'm about to get fucked a little bit.
If you'll submit that to Ms. Collins, please.
No, ma'am. When you say co-sleep, are you referring to, my understanding is that that is sleeping with your child in the bed at night?
Yeah. Is that child sleeping on your chest?
On the couch, yes.
Have you allowed your child to sleep on your chest on the couch?
Yes.
Judge, is that Ashley's child on your chest in that picture?
Yes.
Okay. I'd submit that as as part of the. After court on April the 2nd, did you contact your fiance to tell her how it went?
I believe I did.
And did you tell her that you got that you agreed on something, Ms. Cuff?
I don't recall the conversation as sure.
Read this first one.
Okay. I love you so much. I'm still reading, but I'm out of court and it's over with.
Okay, and then what did you say?
Agreed on something. I haven't figured out if I'm excited or not, but we're going to get a longer stretch together, and we're going to have to be married.
And so on this date, you didn't know if you were excited or not, but you were excited because you were going to get a longer stretch of time with Ashley. Is that correct?
I'm excited to get a longer stretch with Ashley.
Yes.
Sure.
Sorry. Then you tell your fiance that you got a 60-40 schedule. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then you tell her I won't be there this weekend, correct? With a sad face?
That's correct.
Okay. And then you have a crying face. And what do you ask her?
Should I hop on a flight tonight?
Is it fair to say that Ms. Cuff has done her best to keep you informed of things going on with the child?
For the most part, there were a couple of things.
Name one.
Shortly after him being released for carbon monoxide exposure, she didn't inform me that there was supposed to be a follow-up visit with his pediatrician as soon as possible until I was able to get my own copy from of the discharge instructions and realized that he needed to go, and I did the follow-up myself.
Are you saying that she was neglectful in some way?
I'm just saying she didn't follow the discharge instructions or provide me with the details that kept me up to date on what needed to happen.
Were you there at the hospital with her?
No,
Okay, so she had taken care of getting the child. Where were you?
I was in Washington.
Oh, so that was it was a hospital visit where you couldn't be there.
During my non-parenting time, I was in Washington, and she had accidentally locked him in the garage with the car running for
Okay.
10 minutes.
He fell asleep in the car, is that right?
I don't know if he was asleep or awake.
And she didn't actually lock the garage. It was an issue with that garage door is sensitive, is that correct?
No,
Y'all have had issues with that garage door before.
there were issues, but that was not the cause of the garage being closed.
And did she act promptly and make sure you knew that it had happened?
I believe my mom called me first to tell me
To tell you about
what was that he had been locked in the garage.
is that because she called your mom for help to somebody come down there to help her get him out?
Yes,
Okay. And in your mind, did she handle that appropriately to get it done?
yes.
Okay. But you were in Washington and could not tend to your child.
And during my non-parenting time, yes, I was in Washington.
Now, you agree with me, sir, at times, even after you guys came to court, she would ask you about the child's day and ask for details about the child, and all you would generally respond was, he's fine. Is that fair?
Yes. Well, when you say details, are you saying I didn't answer her specific question?
Yes, all you would say is, he's fine.
I think that I addressed, if she asked for a detail, I don't think I withheld that information from her.
This is on the 8th.
Hey, could you at least let me know how he's doing? It's really hurtful that you don't want to tell me anything. I'm a good person. I'm not crazy, even though you like to think that. I'm a worried mother. As I know, after being with me for 12 years, I don't have a lot of trust in others to take care of my son. So when he's not with me, I just need more updates and reassurance. You know this about me. Can you please just work with me on that and understand it's not about you, it's about him?
And what was your response?
I said that he was fine.
Okay, that's the next part of the cumulative exhibit, Judge. Now, prior to the hearing on April the 2nd, 2025, the two of you had agreed that the minor child would go to an Easter egg hunt with the mother. Is that correct?
Wait, an Easter egg hunt?
Yes. Would do Easter with the mother.
Yes, in the parenting plan that we had informally agreed to prior to the temporary being adopted, we had tentatively said that he could go with her on Easter.
Okay. And when you didn't get what you wanted in court that day, or what you allegedly didn't want, you informed her that you would be exercising the Easter holiday. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And did the child have to miss out on what the child usually does for Easter?
No, he did not.
Did the child miss out on an Easter egg hunt with the mother's family?
Yes, he missed out with the mother's family, but we did an Easter egg hunt at my parents' house.
Is there any reason why the child couldn't have just gone to that Easter egg hunt and come back to you?
We haven't celebrated Easter with my family since we had been together. So with it falling on my parenting time, I wanted to.
That's kind of my point. Traditionally, you guys had never celebrated Easter with your family. It was more traditional to celebrate with hers, correct?
Yes.
And the child had always attended the Easter egg hunt with her family. Is there any reason why she couldn't have had 2 hours for that child to exercise that Easter egg hunt?
I don't know that 2 hours was the request.
On April the 14th.
How was Bryce this morning?
Did you respond?
No,
When did she follow up?
at 5:55 p.m.
So some 8 hours later, she asks you what?
Wait, I'm sorry, what was the question?
What did she follow up and ask you at 5:55 after you had not responded?
She said, "How is Bryce?"
And what was your response?
He's eating. You want your call at when he's in the bath, probably about 6:30 or before.
If you'll hand that to Ms. Collins. Can you agree with me that that's how these conversations with Ms. Cuff went for some time?
Sometime, I think that shortly after, probably midsummer, I got better at responding and giving updates anytime that she asks. I think sometimes that I miss the fact that I get a notification. So messages that they go unread. I also try to provide pictures when he's with me on my parenting time so that she can stay connected with what he's doing.
Okay. So on April the 15th, you don't apologize for missing the notification. You don't do anything like that. Were you intentionally ignoring it? Pardon me.
I'm not sure what I was doing at this time.
But you agree with me, sir, that you didn't respond and it took her 2 times asking you?
Yes.
Okay. If you'll just submit that to Ms. Collins. The exact same thing to her.
Yes, I believe these are all within the same time frame for which this is something that isn't happening.
If you'll hand that to Judge, if I may have a moment.
You may.
You pay daycare right now, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
It's $910 a month, is that correct?
But yes,
Okay, and what portion of insurance is for the child, do you know?
I believe it is $364.
Okay, is that for you and the child or just the child?
That is just the child.
I may have a moment, Judge.
All right.
How many times have you rented a hotel room?
I don't know that I've personally rented the hotel room.
Has she rented them for you?
Yes,
Okay, have you helped pay for them?
I don't think so.
Okay, how many hotel rooms have y'all been in together?
I don't know an exact amount.
Has the minor child ever been in one of those hotel rooms?
He is not.
Ms. Roberts?
And I questioned you, and Ms. Duke had every right to cross-examine you. You had an affair on your wife.
That's correct.
You continue that relationship now.
Yes, ma'am.
Your girlfriend is now turned into your fiance?
Yes, ma'am.
Was your girlfriend married at the time that your relationship started? Is she a jealous individual?
Not generally.
Okay. Well, some of these text messages that they've done, what business of it is yours, of your girlfriend is, if you're having conversations with the mother of your child?
I'm not sure.
Did you ever tell her and say it's none of your business? I'm married, you know I have a child. Did you ever tell Miss Ashley that?
No, I did not say that to her.
Why?
I don't have a good answer for that. I just didn't.
You left to go be with her when it wasn't your parenting time, correct?
I did that on 2 occasions prior to the temporary parenting plan, and since that moment, that has not happened. Aside from them, the gaming and me running errands within the first right of refusal.
So all of these things about when you flew out and you did this, and there's a lot of conversation that's gone on direct examination. On how many occasions have you flown to Washington State since you started a relationship with Ashley?
I don't have a count for that.
Did you go every weekend, every other weekend that you didn't have your child?
I did. I went every week until she moved here.
And when did she move here?
21st, I believe.
You developed a relationship with her children.
I did.
Do you want her to develop a relationship with your child?
I do.
Are you capable of setting boundaries and saying that your relationship with your ex-wife is really none of her business?
Absolutely.
Obviously, she has trust issues with you, Ashley. But do you also understand that she cheated on her husband?
Yes.
Do you have the same trust issues with her?
Not now.
Okay. Are you going to allow this lady's trust issues to interfere with your parenting of your child?
No, and I have not.
Was there discussion about you ever leaving and moving away and leaving your child here?
Not leaving my child here. There was a discussion about who would live with who, but ultimately it was the only option was for her to move here.
Who is your priority?
Bryce.
Has that ever changed?
That has not changed.
What allergy testing did you miss?
I missed one allergy testing. I believe it was possibly the second round. Again, it was during a period of time where it didn't feel like we could be in the same room and that be a good environment for Bryce.
But you left to go to Washington.
Yes.
Now, tell me about this carbon monoxide issue.
I got a call from my mom frantically on July the 4th where that Kayla had called her very emotionally disturbed, upset, and Bryce was locked in the garage in his car seat, strapped in his car seat. It was a large vehicle. She had a Jeep Wagoneer inside of the garage, and she was locked out of the house, and she couldn't gain access to the house or the garage, and the garage door had closed. The thing was, essentially, we had it set up to where the garage door would automatically close every night at 8 a.m. And basically, the garbage can was at the road, and Kayla left Bryce in the car with it running, strapped in his car seat, and walked to go get the trash can from the road and bring it in. When she got to the end of the road, she didn't realize what time it was, and the garage door automatically closed, locking him inside. She was not able to get the front door unlocked, so she called my mom, who then called me while she ran to a neighbor's house that was an ex-firefighter from California, and he came over and was able to gain access through the back door and get to Bryce and get him out of the car. And then after that, she called me and was like, she was very upset. I think she had my parents take him for a moment to ride him on the golf cart while that she had emotionally calmed down. And then I had a discussion with her on the phone where that she was reluctant to want to take him to the ER. She said it was fine, and I urged her to take him to the ER, and she did. And she called me on the phone while they were there, and then the rest I'd already talked about with the testimony with the discharge instructions and such. But yes, he got locked in the garage.
And that happened this past in July 4th in 2025?
Correct.
And you think she did it on purpose?
Of course not.
It scared her, didn't it?
It scared both of us.
Well, where were you?
I was in Washington.
Okay. But have you ever used that event that she caused that could have resulted in the death of your child as anything against her?
No.
Would you even consider doing it?
No.
It was an accident, wasn't it?
It was.
But yet, because you didn't go to an allergy testing, you're less of a parent than she is.
I don't believe that's true.
And because you gone on with your life and found somebody else in your life.
Yes.
And you didn't run back into court and seek some emergency custody because she could have killed your child, did you?
I did not.
You think it reflects badly on her as a parent?
I think that it's representative of how fast that a child's life can be taken. And it's a scary moment, but I don't think that that means that she's a bad mother.
And y'all continued this schedule, correct?
Yes.
I believe that's all.
Thank you.
Ms. Duke?
You agree that she didn't choose to lock your child in the garage door, did she?
She did not, no.
But you chose to go outside your marriage and spend time away from the home, correct?
Yes, I had an affair.
And she repeatedly asked you to help her get that app on your phone so she could control the garage, correct?
No.
And you guys never got it installed on her phone in order for her to have the app to open it.
Are you talking about prior to me leaving?
Yes.
Oh, I don't recall if it's possible that we talked about getting it installed, but it wasn't a priority until
And you set up that garage where that it would close at 8 p.m., didn't you, sir?
Yes,
And then you walked out on your wife and were not living in the marital residence of your own behest, setting up your own apartment, and left her to have to deal with that if it ever did get shut. Yes or no?
that I left, the garage door still closed at 8 p.m.
Yes. And she had no control over that, did she, sir?
I mean, technically, yes.
How did she have control over it, sir?
She could reset the garage door opener.
Did you ever show her how to do that?
No, I would have to look it up myself.
Mr. Cuff, your
Yes, sir.
wife's a fairly young woman by my standards. Both of you are young. I fully expect that she's probably going to meet someone and she may end up in a relationship with another man. What I want to ask you is, how are you going to feel when that new man in her life starts telling her how to control your son and how to interact with you? In other words, do the same thing that Ashley's doing in this situation. If the new man comes in, you're going to like that?
No, sir. No, sir.
All right. You understand that you and your wife are the parents of this child.
Yes, sir.
Ashley has no say in this. You understand that? And I'll tell her that if she comes in here to testify. But this is a decision that I don't care if you marry her. The decisions that are to be made between you and the mother of this child. And that's not to say you can't have people in your family who will contribute and discuss it with you. But as far as telling you what to do or whatever, or conspiring with you to do something that the way it makes it almost appear here, you understand that Ashley's out of it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right. And you wouldn't like it if she had some man telling her what to do about and keeping you away from your child, for example. You wouldn't like that, would you?
I would not.
All right. Step down. And by the way, you can get a keypad put on the outside of your door like I have in my house, and all you can do is put a code in there and it'll open the door to prevent this kind of thing from happening with your in the future. Did they sell the house?
I didn't think you sold the house, and again, I could just ask him one question.
Just have a seat. She's going to ask you a question. Let's get it on the record.
I don't know. The battery, I believe, was taken out of it, but I don't know why. It did have a keypad for the garage door. Yes. So I think we both would have had to read the instructions. Yes. No, she did not ask me to do that.
Sir, she asked you to help her download that app, correct?
Yes.
And you didn't do that, did you, sir?
Help her?
Download the app, correct?
Yes, we never downloaded the app.
Okay, that's all.
Well, hold on. I do need to correct that. After the incident, we downloaded the app and she got signed in with no issue. It took 10 minutes.
You finally transferred ownership to her, correct?
No, I did not.
That's all, Judge.
How do you download an app?
Go to the app store and search for, I think it was MyQ was the name of the app, and just download it.
Why she needed help to go to the app, to open up a cell phone and to go to an app store?
I don't think downloading the app was a priority at the time. Is why that it.
Exactly. She could have changed it, done anything. It was a mistake. It was a tragic accident, wasn't it?
That's correct.
And have you blamed her for it?
No.
But now it seems like she's blaming you.
Yes.
She just believes you're a terrible human being.
Yes.
But do you have concerns that a woman that can't even open her cell phone and open an app has the capability of caring for a child?
I don't have concerns about her caring for a child, I guess, but I feel like she could have probably downloaded the app.
But she wants I'll stop there. Thank you, sir.
Told you she couldn't get it connected. Is that correct? The app was downloaded, but she couldn't get it connected to the Wi-Fi at your house. Is that correct?
The Wi-Fi should have been connected through the phone.
That's all.
Thank you. You may step down.
Your Honor, Ms. Duke and I discussed this prior to the break. Do you want to go and hear from the parties first?
Might as well, I guess. That's usually the way it works out.
Yes,
So Ms. Cuff will need to come forward and be sworn. If you'll face the clerk and raise your right hand and be placed under oath.
If you would, please state your name for the record.
Kayla Michelle Cuff.
And Ms. Cuff, where are you currently residing?
I'm living at 508 Mandalorian Way in Dixon.
And is that a new house for you?
It is.
Okay. When did you move?
April 20th.
And you purchase that home?
I did.
And who resides there with you?
Just me and Bryce.
And has he adjusted well to that home?
He has.
Okay. What school are you currently zoned for where you are?
Stuart Burns Middle School.
And prior to the divorce, did Mr. Cuff ever have any issue with Burns?
No, I don't think we ever really discussed it at all, but we were fine. We knew that Burns is a great school system. My nephew goes there.
Okay. This child has friends at daycare, is that correct?
That's right.
And you know these children.
Yes.
And where are some of his good friends zoned to go?
Burns Elementary, or Stuart Burns Elementary.
Now, in fairness, his best friend, where is the best friend zoned?
Charlotte.
Okay. Nobody lives in Charlotte, though, is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Did it surprise you that Mr. Cuff didn't know that two of the best friends, or two of the really good friends, were zoned for Burns?
Not really. He didn't really have a relationship with their parents like I do. So I've taken Bryce to extracurriculars with those kids and their parents.
And have you sure that he sees those children outside of daycare?
Yes, we go to exchange birthday party visits and things.
Okay. Who usually does the birthday parties when Bryce has birthday parties to go to?
Most of the time they fall on my parenting time, so I take him. If it's, like his birthday parties, we invite his friends. It just depends. Last year, Matt had him for his birthday weekend, but
Okay. Tell the court a little bit about that.
yeah, so we had tried to have a joint birthday party last year. I was hoping, as a mom, you never want to miss those moments. Birthday fell on Matt's parenting day, so I did miss out on that. That was hard. First birthday that I've missed since he's been born, but I tried to see if we could do a joint birthday party, just so I didn't have to miss that moment in either of us and our families. His response to that was he's not open to doing a joint birthday party unless Ashley's allowed to be there. And there was a court order that said Ashley could not be around, so he refused the joint birthday party and wouldn't let me show up.
Okay, so Ashley was the issue,
That was the
not you.
stipulation.
You heard him earlier say that it was the tension between the two of you, but his explanation to you was that it was Ashley.
I think he cited that he was worried about how we would all get along, and my family has been very nice to him and treated him very well during this process. So there was none of that on our end, but his biggest reason was maybe next year when Ashley's allowed to be around Bryce, we can talk about it again.
Okay. Now, you've seen all the text messages between Mr. Cuff and Ashley. At this point in time, are you ready for that to be water under the bridge?
I'm to be able to move on with my life, and it's to have the stress of that behind me. I think there's a burden with that, but I am a little concerned about the environment that my child will be raised in, with the volatility of their relationship. I am very concerned about the household dynamics that he's going to be in when he's not with me.
Okay. Did it come to your attention that Ashley always had to be in the middle of your
And again,
conversation?
Your Honor, I'm going to object just to the leading.
Sustained, don't lead the witness.
I won't. Tell the court what your concerns were.
Some of the things that just Ashley just being involved in every decision it felt like we made, she had to be involved in those things. I was on our calls, like we could never co-parent and make any decisions on our own without her being involved and telling him what to say and to respond to me every time, but also just the comments that she had made jokingly, as he says, about harming me. That's very concerning. I think my biggest concern is the safety of my child, and that she found her way into my marriage and has disliked me. I never met her, and has made jokes about harming me, even though she found her way into my marriage. I didn't seek her out. And so I have a hard time feeling like she can put those feelings and hatred for me aside and treat my child fairly when the child is a big sense of the jealousy that she has. That's a big part of, that's something that Matt and I share in common. And I feel like it's as our child, and it's hard to feel like she is going to be able to treat my child like she treats her own children, after just seeing the way that she's treated.
As I understand, she's talking about, and I may have, what someone else had told her about how this woman treats her children.
She didn't say anything about that.
I didn't take it that way. I understood her to say that she's basing it upon things that she's understood, that the interference that Miss Ashley has shown and the supposed jokes that have been made about harming her cause her to be concerned about.
I'm sorry, I
whether or
just
not-
heard something, what Matt, I misheard that, what
No,
Matt said.
in any event, I would not consider what she was saying if it was based on someone else's.
And do those concerns continue today?
They do.
Okay. This stole Matt, so I'm going to stick it to her and she can't be around my kid scenario.
No, it's not that. It's truly, as a mom, I only want what's best for my son, and I truly do feel like that is not a good home environment for him to be raised in.
Okay. And how long after Mr. Cuff told you he was having conversations with her did Mr. Cuff introduce the minor child to Ashley?
I had to find out on my own that there was an affair when he left me. He just told me he wasn't in love with me, and left me to find out about the affair on my own 2 weeks after he left when I discovered that, so about mid-March. And then as he testified earlier, March 18th was whenever he introduced Ashley to Bryce. So I waited over that until after the fact. I actually found out the night that we were in the hospital. That's when he disclosed to me that Ashley's already met Bryce. So all of that happened without my knowledge, and I had to find out after the fact.
Okay. And since April the 2nd, have you that your minor child has some familiarity with her children?
He has. I didn't even know her children's name until the discovery process. I had no idea of any of that. And he had come home talking about her boy, Jojo. He had named Jojo specifically. And I did ask at the time, because I didn't know who that was. I said, "Who is Jojo?" And he started crying and said, "I don't want to talk about Jojo. I don't want to talk about Jojo." And so
And again, the inference, I'm not going to object, again, the child saying they've met the child, anything, but anything further than that, making, crying and things like that, it's here, and I would object to that. I mean, the child's name, not objecting to that, but anything, the dramatization of her child, I do object to.
And the dramatization of Bryce is what
Yes.
you're referring to?
Yes, Sean, I mean, again, anything that the child said is hearsay, if it's not, and I wasn't going to object until the fact that she started dramatizing some conversation she had with the child.
I can ask it in a different way. I can ask that.
Well, ask a question. Any witness can testify about what they observed.
That's what I was.
Interpreting that as having some sort of psychological or, it would seem to me would not be appropriate, but I think she can testify about what she observed about the child. So.
Was the child upset when he realized he told you who JoJo was?
yes,
Does that give you cause for concern about conversations between Mr. Cuff and the child?
it does.
What are you currently earning at Medify?
Salaried position, it's about $81,000 a year.
Okay, and is that a little bit higher than it was when we did our discovery?
A little bit. I just had a slight raise in March.
Okay, and when Mr. Cuff testified about daycare and about the insurance, do you have any problem giving him credit for that, what it is on child support?
Right, no problem with that.
When the two of you resided in your first home together, did you make improvements to that property that would ultimately help sell that property?
I would say, as he said earlier, we didn't do a lot of upgrades or anything to it. We did fence in our back patio area, but yeah, it just in terms of we both maintained the home, kept it clean. That way it wasn't ran down whenever we sold it. I would say yes in that regard.
And when he insisted that only his side of the family he was the only financially contributing person to the home initially, were those monies gifted to the both of you?
They were.
Okay. So it wasn't his financial contribution, it was the both of you.
That's right. As far as I remember, the gift said Matthew and Kayla Cuff, and it was a gift.
Now, initially, when you were doing the 4-3-3-4 schedule for like 30 days, how long was that you were doing that?
It was, I guess, so he left February 23rd of 2025. And so we did that until April 2nd, until we had our temporary parenting plan.
Can you tell this court what Mr. Cuff told you about what you had to do?
Yeah, he told me that it would not be good for me legally, I think were his words. I had no legal ground to stand on to withhold from him. And that since we were married, he was basically entitled to 50-50 custody, and that there could be legal implications if I didn't agree to that.
Okay. Did he scare you at the time?
I didn't have it yet, so I did that because I didn't want to do anything that would hurt me in the long run with Bryce either.
In the history of this child's life, have you been the primary residential parent?
I have.
Okay. Now, do you agree with me that absent this affair and the implications of Ashley into your marriage and into your parenting, is he a decent dad?
Yeah.
When he was talking about the gym earlier, can you tell the court what time he forfeited with the minor child in order to go to the gym or go on his affair with Miss Ashley?
So his gym time has kind of changed over the years. So I think he was saying earlier too, he used to go on his lunch breaks, and then at some point he started getting up and going at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So later in our marriage, I would say, I'm trying to think, probably 2024 and then early 2025, he really kind of adopted he would go in the mornings while we were still sleeping most of the time, and be back around the time I needed to leave to take Bryce to daycare and head out for work. And then he would go a second time on lunch breaks or on the weekends. It would be early morning workouts and then at lunchtime still on the weekends. So we would miss that, especially that lunchtime with him. Depends on how long his workout would take in the morning. Sometimes he wouldn't make it back to tell Bryce goodbye for daycare in the mornings, things like that. But it became, he was just once a day, 3, 4 days a week, and then it became twice a day, 7 days a week, because he was going and having the affair and calling her during his gym time. So he would find extra time to leave and go to the gym to continue to have a relation with her without me there.
And during this time period, was he waiving time with the minor child?
He was.
Okay.
More so on the weekends, of course, because he would be at daycare during the day for his lunchtime, but the weekends for sure when we would have time as a family.
Let's go ahead and address the garage door issue real quick. Is that an issue that you had tried to resolve with Mr. Cuff prior to it happening?
It is. So there wasn't, I'm aware of how to download the app. I had the app downloaded. When we were still married, this was a problem. So we moved into our marital home in July of 2024. And by October of that year, the garage door button was faulty. We contacted the builders. They had to have an electrician. An electrician was supposed to come out, but we had to go through troubleshooting steps with the garage door company before we could have an electrician come out and it be under warranty and all the things. I did ask that he help coordinate the troubleshooting steps with that because he worked from home 5 days a week and I drove to Brentwood. And he never did. He told me that could be my responsibility. So that never got coordinated. And I do understand that I could have done that too on the days that I was home, but it was easier. He's more tech savvy. So I thought maybe we would get further with him doing that. So that was just something that we both neglected getting fixed. So with that, the code on the out of our garage, that whole system failed. So the code on the outside of the garage would not work. No battery removed. It never connected with the internal system inside the garage. So yes, I did. I had the app downloaded. I had asked him, I was having trouble connecting it to the system to where I could control it from my phone. I asked him to help me with that, and instead of helping me, he decided to download on his phone instead. And he created the account and took ownership of that and never gave me backup ownership. So I could not control the garage door from my phone. And then I did not gain access until after that night in the room.
And when he said that you said the child didn't need to go to the emergency room, was the child visibly okay?
He was, and I'm a nurse, I kind of after the situation, it was a terrifying situation. I understand that. I have a pulse oximeter at home. I immediately continued to monitor his oxygen levels very closely, his heart rate. I checked his skin, any signs, blueness, anything would alert me that we're having some respiratory oxygenation issues that I need to address. I would have flown to the emergency room. He was awake, alert, oriented, no confusion, no signs of carbon monoxide poisoning at all. So I was just closely monitoring him. If there had been an issue that he seemed to decline, I would have had no issue taking him.
And during this time period, Mr. Cuff was where?
In Washington.
Now, Mr. Cuff can't tell us really how many trips he took to Washington. Do you happen to know an approximate number?
I couldn't without trying to do some basic math, but it was 1 to 2 times a week, depending on how the weeks fell. On his short weeks, when he only had Bryce for 48 hours, he might fly twice within that week span. And that continued from February to end of October when she moved here. So count that up, 1 to 2 days, or 1 to 2 times a week for that many weeks.
For about 6 months, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay. 52 times?
probably. And I think only 2 of those times she flew here, so maybe subtract a couple from that.
Did you come to find out that he had gone on trips with her?
I believe they did at one point, yes.
Now, since the entry of the order during during Mr. Cuff's time with the minor child, were you headed to the grocery store on one occasion? And tell the court what you found.
Oh, yes. So it was on a Sunday, I believe, during his parenting time. I was headed to the grocery store, and on my route that way, I passed the gym. And I was going straight across from the gym to Kroger grocery store. And Ashley and Matt were both at the gym that day. Both of their Jeeps were there parked right in front of each other. So it did alert me that my son's not there because gym doesn't offer daycare on Sundays. So my son is with someone else I'm not aware of, and he's at the gym with Ashley.
Okay. And did you happen to go back by after you had been at the grocery store to verify that it was over the 2-hour limit?
You may.
So is this gray Jeep Rubicon, and Ashley's is this bright red Jeep Rubicon.
Judge, I'd submit that as the next marked exhibit. You heard Mr. Cuff's testimony that he has gotten better about discussions with you about how the child is. Is that accurate?
Over these last couple of months, probably, it got a little bit better. It's probably more frequent now, but yes, for the first several months, that was not the case. It has gotten a little better.
And was it difficult? Did you stay concerned about your child? Tell the court a little bit about what you went through not getting responses from him.
It's unnerving as a mother, a parent in general, when you don't have your child for days on end and cannot get any kind of response. But I would, every single day that he had Bryce, I would message, "How is Bryce today? Can you tell me about his day?" For weeks, months, probably, I would get no response. He claims he didn't the notifications, but on App Close, it shows that he opened and read the message and chose to leave me on read. So I could see that he had actually seen it. So that did bother me.
I'm gonna object what it shows or doesn't show on App Close as far as anybody can open it and read it.
Well, sustained.
Did he respond?
No,
Did he ever complain that there was a lag for him getting notifications?
no,
Did he ever apologize for taking 8 to 9 hours to respond to you?
no.
Did he ever give you any excuse for not responding sooner? Now, on March the 28th, 2025,
Yes, so that was a day, so that morning, Bryce went to daycare. And I think, if I'm recalling the day, I think that was the morning that I dropped him off at daycare. That might have been a Friday, don't quote me on that. But I would drop him off at daycare that morning, and then my parenting time would end later, and Matt would pick him up. Had messaged and said he was running a fever, or no, sorry, not running a fever. He had diarrhea that morning, and they said if he has diarrhea again, he's going to have to go home. So Matt ended up saying, "Hey, I'm going to go ahead and pick him up from daycare." And I said, he might have just been a fluke. Why don't you leave him and if he gets sent home with a second bad diaper, then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. He decided to go ahead and pick him up anyways and bring him home. Okay, I'm sorry. I just realized as I'm telling this, I misspoke at the beginning. It was not my parenting time when I dropped him off. It was his parenting time when he dropped him off. And so that's why he was able to go get him, pick him up at that time, or else it would have fallen on me. So it was his parenting time. He picked him back up because he was potentially getting sick. That night, we were exchanging. I was going to go pick Bryce up that night from his apartment. And he alerted me that I would be doing the exchange with his mother, who I did not have a good relationship at the time. And I did not feel comfortable doing that. But he told me he was not to be present during that exchange, but that he would be there. His mother would just bring him down to the parking lot to meet me. He did end up sending me screenshots of how to get to his apartment. It was the first time that I'd ever been to his apartment. So he sent me a screenshot of the Apple map and drew lines of, here's where you're going to drive, you're going to turn this way, here's where my Jeep is, and sent me a screenshot of his location showing his Jeep was there, and then specific directions. When I got there, his parents' truck was there, the Ford F-150, white Ford F-150, and his Jeep was there. But he was not really there. I had been asking for updates on Bryce throughout the day, and he would say, oh, he had 4 chicken nuggets and some French fries from McDonald's for lunch. Hey, he just had a pee diaper. Hey, he just had a poop diaper. And that was abnormal for him to give me those kind of updates at the time. So I felt like not really there. His mother did come out and do the exchange with me, but then I later learned that he was not there. He was in Washington. He had gotten their white Jeep Rubicon and drove it to the airport to park to fly to Ashley's house and leave Bryce with his parents on his parenting time, and planted his gray Jeep Rubicon in the apartment parking lot to trick me and make me think he was still there.
Okay, and is this a copy of?
They are.
And, sorry, this is a continuation of that. Did he lie about being there?
He did.
I'm going to go ahead while Ms. Roberts is looking at that. Shortly after the separation, did you have a really good relationship with his mom and dad?
I did.
And at some point, did you find out that tell the court what happened?
So for about the first two to 3 weeks, so I would say probably 2 weeks after we split up, I was always very close with his parents. They always told me I was the daughter that they never had. He was an only child, and they loved me, and I loved them. After he left me, they were fully supportive of everything. They were trying to help me figure out how to get back on my feet and figure this out and help me with this. They were very angry. Neither of us knew that there was an affair happening. So we were all trying to save the marriage, and they got very angry that he wouldn't answer my calls, any of his parents' calls, and talk through what was happening. It happened super abruptly, just overnight. And they were telling me things like, we don't care.
Don't say they said, because it is hearsay.
Okay.
But at some point, did the relationship cease?
It did. Within about 2 weeks, there was a complete switch, and then we had no relationship after that.
And was that your doing or their doing?
So I did say something to them at some point because I don't know if I'm allowed to say it.
Did you come to find out some things had been said?
Yes, yes. And I addressed that with them and told them that it bothered me to know that they were not telling me the truth about some things. And when I did, they started yelling at me and being hateful to me, and completely cut ties with me after that for standing up for myself.
Okay. And after that incident, did his father do anything regularly?
Yes. So we lived in this neighborhood as them, as he said. They lived about 5 houses down. His parents would drive by my house regularly and blow on their horn, just lay on their horn every single time they drove by my house. It went on. It was almost every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. They weren't stopping. I don't think it have bothered me if it felt they were trying to stop to mend the relationship and see if I would come outside. They weren't. They were just driving by and just blowing their horn off their car. On one occasion, they woke Bryce up from a nap when I was trying to get him to sleep before his friend's birthday party. And I asked multiple times for that behavior to stop, and they told Matt that they had never done that before and that I was lying to him.
Okay. And did it stop after I mentioned it to Ms. Roberts?
It did. Never happened again after that.
I'm going to object to number one, I don't know how she knows what mine and Ms. Duke's conversation was and what I did and what I didn't, but
Sustain the objection.
I will stipulate I never told them to do it.
It's all together. This is all one. Did it stop after you mentioned it to me as a concern?
It did.
Okay. Now, tell me about that text message. Is that the text message where he left the child here with his parents?
They are. Sorry, I was trying to quickly read through them. This is the play-by-play of Bryce's day while he was in Washington pretending to be at his apartment with Bryce.
Judge, I'd submit that as the next marked exhibit.
Number 3.
Does this go with that as well? This is the
That would
the
be a
location.
cumulative.
All of that goes together.
Now, when the child was an infant and Mr. Cuff was working out all the time, were you the sole provider for the minor child overnight?
I was.
Tell the court a little bit about that.
So when those first several weeks, I had 6 weeks of paternity leave. I had 12 weeks of maternity leave. Those first several weeks, we co-parented, did it all together. I would say not co-parent, we were still together, but we shared responsibilities. We had a nighttime routine. We would both get up in the middle of the night and take care of. Once he went back from his paternity leave, he was already going to the gym early mornings at that point. So he, after his 6 weeks leave was up, he told me that he needed me to start taking care of Bryce overnight and doing all of the midnight wake up feeds and changes and all the things, because he needed to be able to get a good night's rest because of how early he wakes up for the gym. So he helped for about those first 6 weeks. And then after that, the rest of my maternity leave, plus even when I returned to work, that responsibility was expected to be solely mine. And he never got up in the middle of the night to help with Bryce. And I took all that on.
You took on that responsibility?
Yes.
From 2/14 to the end of March, when your minor child was supposedly spending half the time with Mr. Cuff, minus the exhibits that we've already submitted, is this a copy of all the text messages between Mr. Cuff and?
Yes.
And does this include the phone calls? And does this include the time that they spent in one another's presence?
Yeah.
Well, Your Honor, again, I object to the question is not proper foundation laid. How does she know unless she was stalking him, which again, we could, maybe that's what it is, but how does Ms. Cuff know when they spent time together and when they were talking and when they were doing it? I understand Ms. Dukas has said, are these the text messages that we have provided them in discovery between them? But then any inference after that, I object to lack of foundation.
Well, the question was, do those text messages, that bundle of text messages reflect when they were spending time in person? Obviously, it wouldn't. I mean, it's more or less a question that answers itself in the form of a question, so.
Well, again, the frame of reference.
I assume you both understand that some of these questions you're asking are being done for the performance for your client, that they're not beneficial to me. I fully understand that that stack of questions does not reflect the time that they spent together or the telephone calls they may have had together. But I understand that may be something you need to establish. So,
Well, and I'll just say my point in this questioning is that it took away from time with the child. It's not for performance, say, but were you concerned about the time he was actually spending with his child?
I was.
Okay. Did Mr. Cuff inform you, did y'all have an agreement about T-ball and where the child would play?
Yeah, when we were married, we just said he played in Charlotte. That's where my nephews always played, and that's the ball field we were familiar with.
And right there where you two were living, are you zoned for both ballparks?
Yeah, there's the T-ball fields, they don't have like zoning rules necessarily, so you can kind of sign them up wherever, but.
Now, did he tell me what you found out about T-ball and him signing up the child?
So I found out after the fact that he had signed him up at Buckner Park. He didn't disclose that to me or discuss that with me prior, but I think I recall messages between him and I where we were waiting on you guys to kind of help us mediate that situation a little bit and figure out where to sign him up. I kept asking him, he kept saying, I'm still waiting to hear from Jennifer, I'm still waiting to hear from Jennifer. And so I would ask, hey, any updates so we can get him signed up, because I was also about to miss that Charlotte deadline. And then at one point he finally said, oh, I had already signed up at Buckner, without telling me. I thought we were still waiting on an answer from council, but he had already done it.
And did you do your best to compromise after you learned that?
I did.
And so tell me what you told him about how the schedule would work.
So we came to an that we would, if well, at first our agreement was if the games don't interfere with each other, then whoever's parenting time it is, that parent will help coordinate Bryce going to each game. The games, so for instance, if Matt signed him up for Buckner Park, if a Buckner Park game and a Charlotte game both fell at the same time, he could choose Buckner Park because that's the league he signed him up for, and vice versa. But we had also agreed Charlotte might have a 9 a.m. game and Buckner may not have a game until 11. We could do both if Bryce is filling up for that. If he handles that well and if he loves it and wants to do both, the agreement we came to at first, and then he backtracked on that right at the time of the season to start and said, I've been thinking about it and I'm not going to allow Bryce to have 2 games in one day. That's too much for him. On my parenting time being his age, that's too much. And I did kind of push back on that a little and just said, well, what if he loves it though? I'm not going to force him to do it, but if he loves baseball and he wants to do 2 games in one day, why don't we see how he feels? And he just kind of shut that down and wouldn't.
Did So he initially agreed and then he retracted it.
That's right.
Okay. Do you know if that was coming from someone else?
I'm not sure.
Now, you heard him say that you had some issue with snacks. Can you tell the court exactly what happened?
Yes, so Buckner Park, on Matt's parenting time, I have tried to stay hands-off with that and let him have that time with Bryce and be on the field helping coach Bryce. And I'm just on the bleachers watching and cheering for him. I don't get myself involved with that so that Bryce is focused and enjoying his time with his dad. I wasn't given that same respect during my parenting time. The first game that I was out on the field with Bryce in Charlotte on my parenting time, enjoying that time with him, Matt and his parents pulled out a bag of Oreos and called Bryce over to the fence in the middle of a game and were feeding him Oreos through the fence. And after that, Bryce did not want to participate playing baseball with me anymore and kept running off the field saying he wanted to go get more cookies from daddy. And it felt like it was hindering the time and the experience that I had with him. So I did ask him to, the next time it was on my parenting time in Charlotte, I did send a message the night before and asked, please don't do that anymore. If he's hungry, I keep an abundance of snacks in his bag at any given time. If he's actually hungry, I will feed him. I have those snacks, but it felt like he was being bribed off the field away from me. And I just asked that that not continue. And he said earlier, he did not respond back to me. So I did ask his parents and him politely at the game that morning. It didn't go the way that he said it did. I asked them politely, the way I approached it was, hey, since we're all here, I just want to be sure that we're all on the same page. I sent Matt a message last night asking that we don't bribe Bryce with snacks during the game. I just want to make sure that we all do that today, if we can at all possible agree on that. And his dad stood up and cut me off and yelled at me and told me to get over myself, freaking get over myself in front
His
of my
dad
child.
that's here?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
I had Bryce on my hip with me, and his dad said, oh, freaking get over yourself.
And would this have been a conversation you would have also had with another parent if you saw that they were feeding snacks through the fence?
Yes, felt like it was taken away from their focus on it. At 3 years old, it's hard to keep them focused enough to begin with. That was detrimental, for sure.
So it wasn't you just prodding him or trying to get him upset, it was something you would have done with another child if it had happened?
Objection
Yes.
to the leading.
Sustained, don't lead the witness.
After the hospital incident, did the child's medication need to be picked up from Walmart?
It did.
Okay. And tell me what you requested of Mr. Cuff.
I just asked that he would help me with that, just because with Bryce being so sick and all the things that we just went through, the last thing I wanted to do was drive to Walmart and drag him through the store to stand in line. I pick up my prescriptions from CVS, so there's a drive-through, and if there had been a drive-through, I would have had no problem taking him to do that. It was just having to get him out of the car and stand in the long pharmacy line at Walmart that there usually is. So I was trying to avoid dragging my sick child into something like that, so I just asked for some help.
Where was he when you asked for that?
I believe on a flight to Washington or already in Washington.
Now, tell me a little bit, you heard him outline what your nights looked like at the house and your days looked like at the house. Can you tell the court about who cared for the child, food, all that kind of stuff?
I did most of the caregiving. After work, Matt usually would pick Bryce up from daycare when we were still together. I would take him to daycare in the mornings, and Matt would usually pick him up in the evenings, and his, providing food for him was usually go get him a Happy Meal or go pick up Sonic for Bryce or pizza or something. But as far as routine bath times, I did every bath. He never gave him a bath, not a single time when we were together for the first 2.5 years of Bryce's life. All bath times were on me. The reading the books at nighttime, kind of keeping that bedtime routine, just any he had in general, I did that. I grocery shopped for Bryce and myself. All of that fell on me. Matt just grocery shopped for his own food, and I did everything for Bryce and myself.
Okay, and is this when he was regimented with what he was eating because of his diet and his gym exercise and all that?
That's right, which was the case pretty much since Bryce has been born.
Tell the court a little bit about when you would go to dinner trying to get Mr. Cuff to go with you.
So we had that we kind of had a disagreement over where we wanted to go. It was after a Christmas parade. We wanted to go eat at a Mexican restaurant with my sister and nephew and my sister's fiance. And Matt's words were, because he's on his diet, he's on a very strict meal plan, he wouldn't eat at the restaurant. So he said, that's fine, we can go, but Bryce is going to be your responsibility. So as long as you understand that while you're there. And I agreed to it. We got to the restaurant, and Bryce was, he was about 2 years old at the time. So he was having a typical toddler meltdown. So I'm trying to feed myself, feed Bryce. He's throwing food all over the place, trying to pull the plate off the table. So I started getting a little anxious. I needed a little help. So I did ask Matt to help, and he laughed at me in front of my sister and her fiance and said, he's your responsibility, remember? And just sat there to drink his Diet Coke and left me to deal with all of it.
And did you guys have a disagreement as a result of that?
Yes, it was just, it was embarrassing, honestly, in front of my family for that. I had not wanted my family to see that side of things, so just, I was embarrassed about it.
The allergy testing appointment that Mr. Cuff missed tell the court a little bit about the invasiveness and happened at the allergy testing.
So Bryce had a potential allergic reaction to a penicillin medication that they wanted to rule out and have some testing done to make sure, because he's sick often. So that's a hard antibiotic to not be able to take. So they sent us for allergy testing. I think he had to have 22 pricks down his back. They did a penicillin test, but they also did several environmental things. That's why there were so many. They did a lump sum panel of all kinds of things. So I think it was 22 pricks in his back, and they're one at a time. It's not like a panel where they can just do them all at once. He had to sit there and have 22 sticks over and over again. I had to hold him because he's not allowed to touch his back to anything while the allergen is setting on his back. So I had to kind of hold him still and keep him contained while he's screaming, crying every time they're pricking him with these needles. We had to sit there for about 30 to 45 minutes after that to let the allergens see if they had any kind of reaction to that. He did. So then he had to turn around and have another panel down the side of his arm of about, I think, 16 more sticks. And those were not just the little pinprick needles that were on his back. They were actual needles, almost like an insulin needle, if you're familiar with that. It was an actual needle under the skin 16 different times, much more invasive that second time around, and very difficult to deal with as a parent and watch. It was hard to watch. He cried a lot.
And where was Mr. Cuff during this time period?
In Washington, and he was aware of the appointment ahead of time and did not come.
And did he follow up with you about how the child did, or what was the result? What is his interest in it?
I think he might have sent one message while we were there and just asked how things were going. And I gave him, I think I sent him a picture of all the spots on him that we were waiting to come back. And it was really after that, he didn't really check in much, I don't believe.
Did he ever apologize for not being there with you?
No.
Tell the court a little bit, did you provide Mr. Cuff with your new information for the house?
I did. So I showed him pictures of my house ahead of time before I moved into there, probably 2 weeks before, I think it was. I showed him pictures of my house, just where we're going to be living, and I explained to him, I didn't give him my actual address at the time. I explained to him where, because my address, the only reason I didn't say that is because it's a new construction. The address to this day, a month after I've moved in, doesn't show up on a GPS. It doesn't think it exists. So I told him where I'm going to be and described the location, but I gave him my actual physical address that you still can't find on a GPS the day that he had to come pick up Bryce. But he was aware probably at least 2 weeks in advance whereabout I was living and how to approximately get there.
Is today the first time you've heard that he's moving?
Yes.
Tell the court a little bit about your work schedule and how you and Bryce do when you've got the child.
Yeah, so I work Monday through Friday. I'm off every single weekend, but I do work in Brentwood 3 days a week. I work from home on Wednesdays and Fridays. I have a somewhat meeting-heavy schedule, but also I'm clinical operations, so I have a lot of extra responsibilities, like interviewing people that are trying to apply for our company. So I don't have as much flexibility in my work schedule as he does. So I do have to still take Bryce to daycare on my days that I work from home. Just trying to work from home with meetings and interviews with a toddler does not work well.
And on your Wednesdays and Fridays, are you I mean, if the child needed to stay home, could the child stay home with you?
For sure. Sometimes if I don't have like interviews or something that day, I can make do with my meetings, and I will just tell my boss, you're gonna have to forgive me, he's homesick today. I have that kind of flexibility. That does happen. There have been a couple of occasions where I knew he's homesick. I think Matt referenced that earlier. He's homesick. I have interviews today. And so I did reach out to him and said, hey, I am really busy with work today. I can't reschedule interviews. He can't go to daycare. Would you want to watch him for me? Or I can get my mom too but it's the right of first refusal. So I figured since he's sick, I probably still should give Matt that opportunity instead of asking my mom to come over and watch him. So I have tried to do that and give him that chance.
So have you adhered to the 2-hour?
Absolutely.
Okay. Prior to Mr. Cuff stepping out on the marriage, did he allow you to have guy friends?
No.
Tell the court a little bit about that.
Very early on in our relationship, we were both young. We started dating when in 2013, I was 18, he was 21. There was a lot of jealousy back when we were that young. So there was kind of this agreement at the time that I wasn't going to have guy friends, not accepting male friend requests on social media. Same went for him. Like we kind of just mutually, I think that was his idea, but if you're going to have those rules for me, I'm going to say the same thing. So we did that for a while. We didn't delete people on social media, but don't accept new guy friends or anything like that. And I thought that was the case up until he started building his TikTok following and Instagram, social media following with his gym stuff that he was posting, and started adding a lot of females on social media at that time.
And did he expect you during this time period not to add any males on yours?
Yeah, I mean, yes, he didn't ever say, hey, you can now. So I, being respectful to my husband, I did that.
Since shortly after he got together with Miss Ashley, did you note that he's got the same tattoo as Ashley?
Yes, they got each other's initials on the wrist.
And was he wearing a wedding ring or wedding band at times?
Yes, he frequently has a gold wedding band on his wedding ring finger.
I'm sorry, I sneezed. What was you saying about the initials?
Oh, Matt and Ashley tattooed each other's initials on their wrist. She has an M and he has an A on his wrist.
And was, what did we say next?
The gold wedding band. He walks around with a wedding band on usually. He proposed to her, and then after they got engaged, she turned around and bought him a gold wedding band that he wears everywhere now.
And it's not the wedding band he had when you two were together?
It's not.
Okay. Has he hidden it at times? Have you seen him hide it from you?
At first, he used to purposely keep his hand in his pocket when he would exchange with me and Bryce so that I wouldn't see it. But after I've seen it now, it's just, we don't say anything, but he does take it off in certain scenarios. Like if we're at the doctor together, he won't wear it in, or the dentist or something, he takes it off.
Is there anything else do you want to continue with the schedule that you guys are on right now? Has it worked for your child?
Absolutely. I feel like it's given him a very stable environment, structure. I feel like he's adjusted really, really to the schedule. And there's been a lot of life changes for Bryce recently with the divorce, just going between homes. I just had to move to another home because we sold our marital home. Now Matt's going to be moving. There's a lot of disruptions for him at this young of an age, and the most stability and structure that we can keep continuous is really important.
And has he done well with this
Yes, he
structure?
has.
Are you asking to be made the primary residential parent?
Yes,
Are you asking that you be allowed final say-so in the decision-making?
yes,
Are you asking that, based on the threats and the issues with Ashley, that she not be around your child for a little while longer?
I think so.
Okay. Are you concerned about where he's moved and why he's moving across the street from her?
That is concerning, that yes, that she's going to be directly across the street.
At any point in time prior to today's courthouse, did you know where she lived?
I did not,
Is there anything else you'd like to tell this court?
that I can think of.
I'll pass the witness.
Early on, you reached out and made contact with Miss Ashley, didn't you?
When I found out about the affair, I contacted her to try to figure out if she was the person that was having an affair with my husband. If she had a TikTok or an Instagram account that didn't have her name. So I contacted her because I that's who my husband was talking to.
And communicated with her and said, look, want to know what's going on, and she communicated back with you?
At first, she did not. She ignored me for days. And then I think after I found out the phone records, I called her and left her a voicemail. And then that sparked her to start replying to me on Instagram.
Okay. Were her replies, again, we've got those there, but her replies were appropriate? She didn't threaten you?
No, she said that I was harassing her by trying to ask if she was the other woman that my husband was messing with and threatened to press harassment charges on me for just asking a question, but that's about it.
And again, you reached out to her husband?
I did. I wanted to make him aware that he was also being cheated on.
And that's where the harassment came in?
I guess.
And you understand, I think there was conversations back that her husband had decided to lead an alternate lifestyle.
That's what she told me.
He decided he was gay and they were getting out of the marriage because he wanted to explore his lifestyle as being.
The text messages that I have from her husband do not corroborate that at all. He did not say that's the reason for the marriage, but that's what Ashley told me is the reason.
But again, there was no threats. You found out that your husband was cheating on you. She confirmed it,
Yeah.
said she didn't want to cause any problems as far as understood that your child was very responsive and said she had learned Bryce to be a very intelligent, loving, wonderful young man.
Yeah, that was that night in the hospital where she was willing to share information with me because Matt was telling her on the phone that it was okay to tell me the truth.
And for all practical purposes, she did.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't match her husband's story, but it's her truth, I guess.
It's her truth. Okay. But you talked about some threat. There was a conversation that alluded in a text message where she and Miss Ashley and Matt were corresponding about some gun course that she took.
Yes, he was making fun of me for not having very good aim when I took the gun safety course.
And so what threat do you think that she made?
She made a comment to him in those text messages that something about like if she were, they were planning a date at the zoo. And if your wife catches us at the zoo, because I hadn't found out about the affair yet, do you think she would try to hurt? And he said he did not think that I would do anything like that. And she did make a comment about like, good because she could beat my ass or something like that. She's not intimidated by someone she could knock out or something like that. And had made a joke about, well, if she were to try to hurt me, I would shoot her and I don't miss.
Okay. And she made it, and again, your preference what you referenced, excuse me, I can't speak this afternoon. You referenced that she made a joke. That's what your words just were, right?
His words. He said it was a joking conversation between the two of them.
I often use the word from Gone with the Wind, like Miss Scarlett, I can shoot straight as long as I don't have to shoot too far. So again, you didn't take that as
knowing the woman, it was a little unsettling, if I'm being completely honest. I had found text messages. As we got discovery, I found out that he had given Ashley my home address and a picture of my house. And then I found those jokes about the gun. That is where I was concerned for mine and my son's safety because there was no reason for her to know my actual home address or a picture of my home.
well, it was his address too.
He wasn't living there yet anymore.
It was his address.
Yes, it was, but I was a single woman living on my own and she had joked about hurting me and that made me feel unsafe.
But again, it was referenced, and again, don't mean to belabor the point, as it seems like Ms. Duke and I have belabored everything here today, but again, she was questioning whether she should be scared of you.
Yes, sure, yeah.
And in response, if she comes after me, I can hold my own.
Yes, but
If she tries to shoot me, I can shoot her.
Yes, but I would never joke about shooting someone.
So that's the context of this threat that you've referenced. And again, the threat that you've referenced, again, in your discovery, you talked about the fact that you got angry at one point in time and charged at him while he was sitting on the bed. Your child had flipped off the bed, and that you were going to strike him.
I did. That was a low moment in my mental health when we were still married. Yes.
So again, low moment in your mental health when you had your child and you threatened physical violence against him, correct?
I did. I was in therapy for that at the time, and I called my doctor the next day and got my anxiety medication increased. I sought the proper ways to deal with that, and I called my therapist and got in the next day to talk about that outburst.
Yet not one time during his testimony did you hear him come up and pull out something and try to make it something that it wasn't, did you? He didn't come up and say, oh, I'm concerned that she's a threat to me, did you?
No.
And then you're taking this joke context where they were talking in this conversation that you weren't even a part of and assume that you're scared for your safety.
Because there was a gun involved, yes.
There was a gun involved.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how do we know that your mental health is not going to slip back to where it was when you threatened physical violence against him?
Because I'm on treatment for that, and it's well managed, and
What treatment are you on?
I'm on a high dose of Zoloft. It's not a high dose. As a nurse, it's not a high dose, but I'm on 150 milligrams of Zoloft I take every single day. My primary care doctor is aware of that, and I have treatment for that. All I have is anxiety. I don't have any crazy mental health disorders. It's generalized anxiety disorder. And I also have been in therapy every 2 weeks to once a month for the last year and a half to just work through all the things that I have been through with the marriage and all of that, just to help my mental health. I'm taking the right, channels to help support that.
And again, you talked about that y'all were together again from you were 18 and he was 21, and y'all were both dating somebody else and cheated on your respective boyfriend, girlfriend with each other.
Yes.
And so that was the connotation that when y'all first got together, you're like, look, we're not going to give ourselves temptation because we already have established a pattern that we're cheaters.
Sure. Yes, we were. My boyfriend at the time was cheating on me, and instead of ending the relationship, I began a relationship with Matt.
And then he broke your trust,
Yes.
and that hurt you deeply.
Yes.
And you're still dealing with that pain.
I am.
But even through that pain, that he has violated the trust in doing that and didn't tell you until you found out on your own that you've mentioned reference times. He's continued to provide excellent care, as you have, for your son Bryce.
Yes. I just worry about the Bryce being a priority, and that's my only concern.
And when you're at work and one of those days you just can't get away, even though your child is sick, and the last thing you want to do is deal with everybody else. You want to be home with your little boy. You've picked up the phone and called him, and he has been Johnny on this. He's gone and got him, provided care, followed the plan, and you've trusted him to do that.
We've done that a couple of times.
Right. And he's gone as far as the time when not the diarrhea incident, but the fever incident. He went and carried him to the doctor, contacted you and let you know he was at DMA. And when he didn't get any better, carried him back, let you know, and then carried him on to the ER in Vanderbilt. Y'all were there together.
Mm-hmm.
It was your time to start. He had been released.
It was, let me correct that, I guess. I don't know that we got into that detail. Matt's time, Bryce got released at 3:30 a.m. on that Saturday. Matt's parenting time wasn't going to end until late that night or Sunday morning. I forget what our agreement was at the time, but it was still his parenting time. But he let me take Bryce home because I'm a nurse and I felt more comfortable observing him overnight. The doctors told us that day that Bryce is certainly not in the clear. Here's all the signs to watch for, and if any of these things happen, he may actually have this retropharyngeal abscess that we scanned for, and we could have just missed it, so bring him back immediately if that were to be the case. So I felt like I wanted to observe and make sure that there was no changes to his health. He felt it was more important to go to Washington and end up that day for me to have him. So it was not my parenting time at the time. He gave up his day.
Well, again, you through your turn, we did all of the y'all requested in discovery, all of those text messages. And it's evident through those text messages, he said he was planning on coming, but he may have to delay it, didn't he? In that text message that you've introduced into evidence over that event, when he was texting Miss Ashley, he said, look, I'm going to come, but I don't know when it is. And then you offered to take your child. You're a nurse, love your son and making sure nothing's going to happen. And he trusted that. He trusted you, didn't he?
He did. The only thing that I would add to that is I understand in that moment that I took him, but as a mother, I wouldn't have flown across the country in case something did go wrong. I'm 5 hours away from my son if there was an emergency at that point. And that's where I have a problem with that. And that concerns me for parental judgment.
That he trusts that you're not going to that he would have stayed home because he didn't trust you.
Not that he doesn't trust me, that anything could have gone wrong with Bryce's health, like those doctors said, and we would have had to go back to the emergency room and possibly have emergency surgery. That was what they prepped us for leaving the hospital, that for the next 48 hours, he's still not out of the woods with these concerns.
Now, you talk about that he has missed parenting, that he would go to the gym early in the morning while y'all were still asleep. Were there occasions during this 3.5 years of your child that you've gone and done things for yourself?
Every now and then, I mean, very rarely, if I'm being completely honest, really.
Well, I noticed, and again, this, again, may be petty, but I noticed in some of your pictures and stuff early on in your marriage, looks like you went and had some cosmetic dentistry, you had some braces put on your teeth.
Yes, that was long before Bryce was born.
Right, but again, you were worried about because of some dental issue, it was a cosmetic issue.
No, my dentist told me I needed braces because I had crowding in my teeth.
He then, looking at the pictures, he was a lot bigger,
Yes.
and he changed his health and kind of obsesses on the gym. And that happened before the child came along.
The obsession got much worse after the child. He wanted to lose weight he wanted to be in a healthier state before we had Bryce, and I wanted him to do that too. That was important to him. And I wanted my son to have a dad that was healthy and would be around for a long time, but the gym obsession started after Bryce came here.
And again, there were things that you did for yourself. You'd go get your hair cut, you would go do things and leave him home with his father, wouldn't you? You had personal time, didn't you?
I might get my hair done like 2 times a year for a
Okay.
couple hours, but yes.
Your child is born, you've done nothing personally for yourself.
No, I'm saying it's very, very, but yes, no, it wasn't every day like his gym things were. It was rare. There were times where I would have to ask him permission to go take a shower for 15 to 20 minutes and ask him if he can quit doing what he's doing to be able to watch Bryce so that I can take a shower.
You would have to ask him permission to take,
Yes, that's why I didn't do things for myself often, because it would be an argument between us, or if he would basically tell me that I don't understand why you can't wait to take your shower until Bryce is asleep when he's kind of ripped and ran and done his things all day for the gym and meal prepping. And so, yes, it was very difficult to get help. That's why I didn't do many things.
so his testimony that y'all did things together and got Bryce up, put him to bed together, did all that together was just totally false.
No, the bedtime routine was accurate. The only thing that wasn't accurate with that is that I did stay in the room to read Bryce a book. We did have that routine every single night. We would both go to his room. He would do hugs and kisses with Daddy. Matt would leave the room, and Bryce would want me to sit on his bed and read him a book every night. And Matt would leave and go ahead and go downstairs and get ready for bed while I did that. That accurate. That's the only thing that I would say that was a little misrepresented.
Y'all went to typically most of the doctor's appointments that were scheduled.
Yeah.
Y'all went together, made joint decisions about those things.
Yes, ma'am.
If he was sick, y'all did it like normal family, whoever could carry the child.
Yeah. Most sick visits, we both still try to go. We would both still take off work. He may just, if I was in Brentwood, I would leave and travel to Belmead, and
But
he
he
would
would
pick
be-
Bryce up and meet me there, but we would both go, yeah.
And he did that willingly, and
Yeah,
both provide, you said he did some grocery shopping, you did others.
yeah, he grocery shopped for himself, and I grocery shopped for Bryce and I.
Okay, and then he, first the dichotomy of your marriage, he did the bill paying,
Yeah,
and you would, there was a certain amount y'all came up with, agreed for you to contribute for your check,
that's right.
and then you used the rest of your check for food and incidentals.
Yeah, or just anything Bryce needs, yeah.
And that was, and because he was providing gas, water, electricity, the house payment, he was paying all the uncovered medical expenses. He was doing all of that
Yes, I towards our mortgage, it just came out of his bank account,
Well,
but I did send money for
with
that.
your contribution in there.
Right.
Okay. Did you ever ask, and say, hey, I'm running short, can you give me some money?
I may have a couple of times. There might have been times where I've done that, yeah.
No, but y'all were pretty good with your money.
Yeah, for the most part, I feel like we were both pretty financially stable.
And if you would run shorter, Bryce would need something that came out extraordinary, and you would ask, he would always transfer the money and say, here, go do it.
Yeah, I think there might have been a couple of times that ever happened, yeah.
Yeah. Now, you went to the grocery store and you just happened to, you were to Kroger's. So that's why you would cut through the plaza there and buy Powerhouse where the gym's
I
located.
would shop at Kroger for the most part.
Okay, and you just happenstance to go and spot their cars there on a Sunday.
Yeah, that's where I was headed there, and I just drove by, and it's packed on a Sunday for the most part, so it was very easy to spot their cars that day.
And you're alleging that he violated the court order somewhere and was gone for more than 2 hours?
Yeah, I thought he was. By the time that I passed and came back and still saw his car, I thought it was around the 2-hour mark.
Okay.
So I did bring that to Hillary's attention.
And you text him about it,
I think, yeah, I did.
and he told you, no, that's not true.
Right.
And he even told you that he has ring, to the point to your concerns, he told you he had Ring doorbell cameras that showed when he left and when he came back, didn't he?
He didn't tell me that.
Did you ever video or audio or something, his parents supposedly was honking the horn by your house?
I did not, but that's very, respectfully, that's really hard to capture when I never know when they're going to drive by my house. So I don't just have my phone on audio recording to hear that at any given time.
And they've denied doing that.
They have, and I've seen them out of my window doing it. That's how I know it was them. My blinds are usually open on my formal dining room, and so I would see them drive by. It was in their white Jeep Rubicon several times, but most of the time would be his dad's Ford F-150, and I witnessed it with my own eyes, which is why I addressed it.
And during the course of y'all's marriage, of course, he was working at home, and he, unlike when you had to work at home, you were gone 3 days, home 2 days. And when you worked at home, you were very meeting oriented and had to be on screen and do things, right?
Several days or often, yes.
And you heard him testify that he was the one that did most of the housekeeping and the laundry and things like that. Is that
That's right.
And then when he left the house, you're not the best housekeeper in the world, are you?
I mean, sure, not, maybe not. I mean, my house stays clean. It's not unsafe for my child, but yes, there's times where the house gets a little out of hand because I'm busy and, yeah.
In fact, if you were then with Bryce, he was doing the laundry and the dishes.
No, he did that. I was talking about, when I said I did everything, I meant caring for Bryce. The questioning from Hillary was, did I care for Bryce? That's what I was answering. So if I misunderstood her question, it wasn't about the house, it was about the child.
But again, we intimated that I was there doing everything at home. The breakup is if Bryce needed something, you would do it because he was the one that was doing the dishes, the laundry, the vacuum, the dusting, all of that. Isn't that right?
I mean, yes, I mine and Bryce's laundry for a while. He, at some point, did start offering to help out with mine and Bryce's laundry, but for a long time, I did mine and Bryce's laundry and he did his. So I would say that's not very accurate, but yes, other than that.
And during the course of the time that you were there together, the house became in a significant disarray.
Yes, I mean,
You had Bryce's
If
clothes
she can
everywhere.
finish, Judge.
Sorry, I thought
I'm
she
sorry.
was. Okay.
I was
wasn't
just,
finished with the answer.
I was just gonna say, I can, agree to that. I would say, the biggest piece is that I'm not shying away from is I had a, postpartum anxiety back then. And some of that, as you know, as a mother, it takes a long time for some of your hormones to regulate. And I have anxiety, and I never was diagnosed with depression or anything, but that made me, I had very low energy levels. I was sleeping a lot. And so
I'm not trying to stop you, but I was asking, when he left the house, during the time that y'all were together,
yes.
you took care of Bryce, he took care of the house.
Okay.
Is that a true statement?
While we were still
When
married.
y'all were together, his responsibility in the household was the laundry, the dish, all of that stuff?
Yes, sorry, I'm trying to get there, I'm sorry.
And then after he moved out, you let the house get in a bad shape, didn't you? As far as maintenance, washing the dishes, putting Bryce's clothes up.
Maybe, I don't recall how bad you're referencing, but
Well,
I
again, you
mean,
recall him coming over to inventory and do things.
yes, and I would say if the house was in a bad way at that point, I had pulled out a bunch of things. Hillary's aware of that. I had pulled out all kinds of things from our attic and closets and everything that I was trying to help go through. Bryce has toys everywhere. I don't worry about cleaning up all of his toys until he goes back to his dad's house because there's no reason to. He's just going to pull them back out. So that may be what you're referencing.
I'm just looking at a kitchen counter with 7 or 8 cups there, dirty dishes, diapers, pull-ups, all different things. Not the
Dirty?
best housekeeper, are you?
I mean, no, I need to clean my house. I need extra support that's helpful whenever I'm, a single mother right now working full-time. I pay someone to clean my house.
But again, as I said, it was he kept a pretty good, kept the house pretty clean while you would tend to some of Bryce's needs, is that right?
Decently. We were both pretty bad about keeping the house
Okay.
straightened up all the time.
He started this work schedule, did he start the work schedule where he was working from 7 to 12 and then 9 to midnight while y'all were still together?
No, that's shortly after
changed.
he left. Yeah.
While y'all were together, he was working the Monday through Friday from 8 to
7 to 5, and then
7 to
every other
5.
Friday off, yes.
And every other Friday off. And you were still doing the 3 days at the office, 2 days home.
Correct.
And so Bryce was having to go to daycare because you couldn't tend to him on your 2 days because you need to get your work done. And he was the same way.
Yeah.
And do you understand his work schedule now is flexible where the child doesn't have to go to daycare with him?
Yes, that's how I've understood his schedule to be.
But again, have y'all agreed that he's to morph into a K or a preschool program next year for a couple of days a week?
Yes, daycare reached out and preschool registration was coming up, and we thought it's in his best interest to let him have 2 full years of preschool before this year is just kind of introductory preschool, and then next year will be a full-time getting ready for kindergarten curriculum.
Because again, when we talked about the school, unless y'all ask him to go to school early and he tests in, he can't start school next year. I think the cutoff is August.
I think if I added it up right, August 2028, he would start kindergarten. He'll turn 6 right after he starts kindergarten because of the way his birthday falls.
And y'all have discussed it, and he's not at the maturity level or anything to try to get him into kindergarten next year, right?
I would not think that would set him up for failure, I feel like.
Right. So where he's going to be going to school is not an immediate situation. We don't have to make a decision. He's not starting this year or next August.
That's right.
Okay. Do you have you've bought a home,
I have.
your family is here for the most part. You don't have any intentions of relocating outside of Dixon County at this point
Not
in
at
time,
all.
do you? Do you have a problem with putting a stipulation that will go to school in Dixon County?
No, as long as it's not, as long as we're not saying the city
No.
of Dixon, just Dixon County
Dixon
for
County.
sure. Yes.
And again, you raised the issue about that he, at some point in this text message, talked about, oh, I wished we could be together either there or here. Again, you understand, he's asking to stay here.
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe that your anger over your husband cheating on you, that you've allowed that to cloud your judgment on his ability to parent?
I would say early on, it was probably a lot more clouded. There's been a lot of time to process everything and process all the emotions that he had time to process before he chose to leave. I needed time to process that my world got flipped upside down. I'm in a much better place these days. So I wouldn't say my judgment's clouded these days, but I do have some in my what I consider valid concerns with just a few things.
And again, the valid, and again, pointed out those concerns that you have, but again, you left your child in a running car.
Yes, and that was an unfortunate event. That was the most terrifying thing that I've ever had happen. I'm not blaming Matt for that either, but I do want to say it was just a freak accident. If I'm allowed to elaborate on that a
Well,
little,
and that, I
Judge,
want
if
you
she
to.
can finish, please.
Well, the question she was asked, she's answered, and I think she's attempting to answer it, so sustain the objection, allow her to finish her answer before we go forward.
So that night, Bryce was asleep in the car. I think it's important to note when that happened, the reason that I stepped away to get the trash can and didn't take Bryce is he was already asleep, and I didn't want to wake him up. We had gotten home from my uncle's house from a 4th of July event, and I didn't want to wake him up to carry him to the end of the driveway just to grab the trash can and roll it to the house. So I didn't think about the auto timer on the garage, so I stepped out to grab the trash can when that happened, and I acted quickly on that. So I understand that was a really bad moment, but it was a freak accident. I don't think it's either fault of either of ours, but the garage door being faulty, that was a series of unfortunate events.
And again, that's what I just wanted to clarify. This absolutely bringing it up, nothing that he indicated that he has concerns about that with you. But again, it's that you're blaming that through the questions that have been answered, that you're blaming him for the fact that he didn't take care of changing something that you knew about. That's not it.
Yes.
By the questions that were elicited in your testimony on direct examination, and he should have done this.
Yes,
Why didn't he do it?
I'm aware. I think I answered that earlier. I believe there's just you know, at the time when we were still together, it had been broken for a year almost before he left. And we both could have fixed that and we didn't. And I understand that I still owned that home or lived in the home for a little while afterwards. At that time, it was on the back burner of my mind because I was so used to coming in and just pushing the button on my car to get in the garage. And I didn't really think about that. It became routine. And so until that freak accident happened, it wasn't on the forefront of my mind to like, okay, I really need to get this ball rolling on getting it fixed.
And you understand, he's the one that's raised it, not him. But you have these concerns of him going to the gym that he has done before y'all even conceived your child. And you're thinking that's a concern because he's not qualifying, he's not spending every waking hour with your child.
My concern was just that I thought the court orders had been violated. Just timestamps that I thought I had violated those orders, so I addressed those concerns with Hillary.
But it's not that one occasion. You have ad nauseum or through the testimony about the fact that he leaves and goes to the gym and he works out and he goes and has a separate, and when it's not with him, he's going and having a relationship with somebody else. And that's the basis of your concern, is that he's moved on.
No, that I wouldn't say that's accurate. He's allowed to move on. He's allowed to do, it's his prerogative on what to do with when it's not his parenting time. I have no concerns with what he does when it's not his parenting time.
And when he's had his parenting time, your child has been well taken care of, has grown as a child, is the same loving child that y'all intended to raise when you decided to bring him into the world.
Yes, with the exception of a few moments that we pointed out where there was poor parental judgment and he left to go to Washington on his parenting time. That's where a lot of my concerns are.
And you understood that during these FaceTime calls that you weren't to discuss this case, and you flipped him off during one of those FaceTime calls, and we can watch the video if you want to do it, but you're behind your son then your husband, now ex, is trying to have a conversation with your son, and you sit there and do this to him, don't you?
I think I do recall doing that. I did behind Bryce's back, like you said. That was not a good thing to do. That was, again, when I was in a very low point, and I've grown a lot from that moment, and it's not my proudest moment that I did that. But yes, I did that. We were in a disagreement, I think, at the time, where it was very difficult to get along, and we had a little disagreement on the call that made me do that.
During those FaceTime calls, you brought up marital issues.
Early on, I definitely did.
Even after the order was entered, you did.
I do believe I did do that.
You would talk about the divorce where Bryce could hear you. And you talked about daddy not being, and you made snide comments and disparaging comments about him with your child listening.
I didn't disparaging remarks. If I did, I don't recall. I know that I have brought up just marital things, and early on, I was still very hurt and still trying to figure out if there was any reconciliation so that I didn't have to, share my son and can we figure this out? I definitely talked about some of that. If I made disparaging remarks, I really do not recall that in front of my child at all.
Ever tell Bryce that, daddy's is going places without us and leaving? Talk about him going to Washington and seeing?
No, I do not recall ever doing that. I purposely tried to not say anything negative about Matt in front of Bryce.
But you talked about marital, even after the order in April was entered. You acknowledged that you violated that order, didn't you?
I did probably a few times where I tried to save my marriage, yes. And probably talking about that in front of Bryce, not in a disparaging way, but that's not doing that. That was very fresh. My marriage had just gotten lost a month before that, and it was hard. There was a lot of emotions back then, and I think at that point in my life, when we get on a call, it upset me, and I wanted to try to see if there was any way to fix anything. And I did it more out of trying to save my marriage for my family, not in a deceitful way.
Well, in violation of a court order way.
I understand, yes, ma'am.
And so how many times he didn't at one time, even with video evidence and with all of that, not one time did he try to bring you into court for contempt, did he?
No, ma'am.
You think he knew you were healing? But you got a stopwatch on him. Oh, it's 61 minutes. He's violated a court order. That's you, isn't it?
I wouldn't do that, no, ma'am.
Well, how much estimated time did you think that when you took the pictures and?
I thought it was right around the 2-hour mark, and I was just, and they were at the gym for about 2 hours plus the drive to and from his parents' house to pick up and drop off. So I thought it had exceeded that pretty decently.
So you understand one of the factors that the court has to deal with under the statutory factors is each parent's ability to the child has a good relationship with the other parent and the other side of the family.
Yes, ma'am. And I do encourage that a lot with him. Every time on my parenting time that it's time for him to go back to his dad's house, I try to make sure he's excited and understands that daddy gets to pick him up today.
Except for those times when you're on the video call and you have a captured audience that you make snide comments and you try to discuss marital issues in violation of court order.
Objection, that's a mischaracterization of the testimony. There's no doubt in my mind that she admitted to.
Violating the court order.
And
I'll
it's
move on.
asked
Well,
and
it is
answered.
cross-examination overruled, but we are long past beating a dead horse.
Again, on that, there's a number of occasions that you refused telephone calls.
I was an occasion where we were on the call, and I strongly believed, based on his body language and looking around the room, that Ashley or her children were in the room with him while he was on his call with Bryce, which at the time was a violation of the orders that we had in place. So I did end the call and told him that here's somebody's in the background, you're talking to somebody in the background, and we're not allowed to do that. So I did end the call for that. And I did refuse to answer his call when he called back because of her being in the background.
And again, we can look at it, but I think there was a series of 9 or 10 missed calls over the course of this time, and you telling you're going to have to call another time. He's asked to stick to the same time, and you've required it to be at your convenience, correct?
No, I wouldn't say that's accurate. He asked for a set call time, and we agreed on 7 p.m. He said he needed a notice of, so he can prepare. So we agreed on a 7 p.m. call time, and then he almost every single week would request a different call time outside of 7 p.m. And that's what Hillary had mentioned earlier. I was very flexible, and I gave him call times for him every single time he asked. I didn't make that. I didn't try to make that difficult for him. Was it frustrating for me that he demanded a set time and then swayed from it because he booked a flight in the middle of his call time? Yes, it was very frustrating, but I didn't deny his calls.
Does he place the calls for you?
He agreed that he would be the one to call every night. That was his offer. So at 7 p.m., no matter whose call it is, he calls. He offered that.
If he's got Bryce, he calls so Bryce to be available for you.
Yes.
And then if you've got Bryce, he calls to Bryce.
That's correct. Yeah, he offered that just to keep it consistent.
And not one time when it was your time, he's always had Bryce available to talk to you.
I have asked for a flexed call time a few times if we're going to my dad's house to let Bryce spend time with his cousin or something, and he has not provided that flexibility for me and tells me no. He has a couple of times flexed the calls, but I was very, very flexible. He was flying to Washington for months, almost every single week, and I've gotten that same flexibility just a couple of times from him.
Okay. But again, after you've said you've had to deal with the trauma of your husband cheating on you and that you're in a better headspace, but y'all are co-parenting your child, aren't you?
Things are getting a little bit better, I would say. We still can't agree on certain decisions, but it's improved a little bit.
That's all. Thank you, ma'am.
Redirect. Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. We're going to take about a 10-minute recess. Are you planning on calling any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, we rest and we are going to waive oral argument and ask Your Honor just to rule.
We were giving Your Honor time to,
Do what?
we were giving you time in case you had to collect your thoughts in the back before you came back in.
Collect my thoughts. That's a good one. Well, let me talk to your folks for a minute, and I'm going to address this to everybody in the room. Too often in divorce cases, especially where custody is involved, we spend an enormous amount of time, an inordinate amount of time, picking at every little thing that we can about the other party to try to make them look as bad as possible, because we're fearful, as lawyers, we're fearful that if we don't bring out all the negatives, then we won't get a fair shake. In this particular case, I think I have two good parents. I think I have, admittedly, a father who loves his son, and I know I have a mother who loves her son as well. That doesn't mean that either one of them is perfect or has failed, or that has demonstrated sterling behavior that would indicate that they have never done anything wrong as a parent. Both of them have made mistakes. Some of those mistakes are more understandable than others, but it is this court's opinion that both of you are good parents. Now, this decision that I have to make is based upon the law and the facts that have been presented to me. And you've asked me to make a decision regarding who should be the primary caregiver for the child and what should the schedule be. You two have agreed upon a schedule on a temporary basis, but now you're asking to adopt a different schedule. And I'm required to determine first and foremost who is the primary residential parent in this case. I'm required to look at the statute that I'm dealing with is 36-6106 of the Tennessee Code, which basically gives me a set of factors that I have to consider in determining who should be the primary residential parent. So I will go through those because the Court of Appeals is always wanting to know, make sure that if this matter were to go up on appeal, they always want to make sure that I have considered and weighed those factors in making my decision. The first one is the strength, nature, and stability of the child's relationship with each parent, including whether one parent has performed the majority of parenting responsibilities relating to the daily needs of the child. I think this is a situation where both of these parents, I think, have a stable relationship with the child. I think both of them love this child very much. And if I would probably say that the mother has performed the greater responsibilities for the child, although the father is not heavily slanted in favor of the mother, because I think the father has also participated in that, at least during the time that they were married. Each parent, so I would say that that's an equal factor for both. Each parent or caregiver's past potential for future performance of parenting responsibilities, including the willingness to and ability of each parent or caregivers to facilitate and encourage a close and continuing parent-child relationship with the child and both of the child's parents, consistent with the best interests of the child in determining the willingness of each of the parents, going through the entire statute. Basically, that means I have to look to see whether each of you has the potential to ensure that the other parent has a good relationship with the child. And I think both of you are somewhat deficient in this particular regard. I think that Mr. Cuff has demonstrated that he has lost sight of his primary responsibility towards this child and has set aside some of those responsibilities. And I think some of the text messages between him and Miss Ashley have demonstrated that there was a lot of planning going on about how to get around his wife knowing what was going on and his get around how the child could be taken care of and so forth. But I also think that Ms. Cuff is at fault in this responsibility too. The things that you have done in this situation and said and done are regrettable as well. But I also understand you're operating from a feeling of betrayal. And, it's, as Ms. Roberts says many things, but one thing is she doesn't cut a lot of slack to her own clients, and she cross-examines them in a way because she brings out the negatives that they have before anyone else gets to do it. That is a good lawyer's tactic. When you've got a client with problems, if you address it on the front end, then it lessens the sting when the other side gets to do that. So Ms. Roberts has brought out on her examination of Mr. Cuff many of the very regrettable things that he engages in. When you get married, it's supposed to be for life, is what they say. I know that's rarely ever the case now, but still you make a commitment to someone, and when you violate that commitment, it becomes a very difficult thing to get past. That's what's happening, and that's what has happened with Ms. Cuff. I made the comment earlier about if she meets someone down the road and he starts telling you how to operate how to behave with your child, that you're not going to like that very much. But it's likely that she's going to find someone in her life that she will want to share it with. She's young, and I think she will certainly find another way. But Ms. Cuff, that's the other thing I would point out to you. Life doesn't end with this divorce. You're a young person, both of you are. You have a lot of life left. You've got 15 years left in your child's minority. But anyone, both of these lawyers and myself, can tell you that your parenting of your child does not end when they turn 18. You will continue to have to provide for it and so forth. So I'll get to the rest of that speech in a minute. But I think that both of you have been somewhat deficient in trying to jockey around for the purposes of this hearing as far as promoting a good relationship with the other one. And while it's understandable about the things that you attempted to do to save your marriage, that is unacceptable when your child is involved. The one true innocent in this case is your child. He's 3 years old. He deserves to have a good relationship with both of his parents and not one that is slanted towards one parent or the other, or the parent tries to influence the child against the other parent. Refusal to attend a court-ordered parenting seminar, I don't have any indication that either of you have refused to do that, but both, if you haven't, you'll need to do that within a period of time afterwards. The disposition of each parent to provide the child with food, clothing, medical care, education, I think we both have been willing to do that, and I think it's a situation where perhaps Mrs. Cuff has been the one who's primarily made the doctor's appointments and taken the child to the doctor, but Mr. Cuff has participated some in that. So that probably factor would favor her. The degree to which each parent has been the primary caregiver, and I think that I've held that both of you have taken responsibility, but I find that that favors the mother. The love, affection, and emotional ties existing between each parent and the child, again, I have no question that both of you love the child. Mrs. Cuff has focused her entire thought about this on the child, and to an extent, her feeling of betrayal by Mr. Cuff. Mr. Cuff has focused on his love for his child, but also extended that to a new relationship that he's gone into, and therefore he has left the child behind on many occasions when he could have been with the child and to pursue this new relationship. That's his choice, but I find that a factor would favor the mother. I don't have anything other than the emotional needs and developmental level of the child. I don't find that to be any evidence other than you've got a typical 3-year-old who seems to be doing well. Number 8 is the moral, physical, mental, and emotional fitness of each parent as it relates to the ability to parent the child. Again, neither of these, parents is without fault in this regard. Clearly, Mr. Cuff could have handled his separation from the family in a better way. He chose to basically break his marriage vows and to go into a relationship with another woman and to hide that from his wife. And as a result of that, I think that has necessarily caused Mrs. Cuff to react in negative ways. So while this factor could be applied to both of them, I found that factor is favoring the mother because while she has not been without fault, she has not engaged in an extramarital affair, and therefore that factor would favor the mother. Child's interaction in her relationships with siblings, other relatives and mentors and so forth, I don't really have a lot of evidence about that. The importance of continuity in the child's life and the length of time the child has lived in a stable, satisfactory environment. Clearly, I think there's been some upheaval. However, I think that primarily the situation that they've entered into and been going on for a year or so has resulted in a stable environment for this child. Don't have any evidence of physical or emotional abuse to the child. The character behavior of any other person who resides within or frequents the home of the parent. In this situation, I would have expected to have heard from Mr. Cuff's fiance, especially in view of the fact that Ms. Duke and her client were seeking to have a restriction against her continue after the divorce to prevent her from being able to be around this child. But I don't have anything other than some of the text messages and so forth to indicate anything about Ashley's situation other than the fact that she's divorced as well and has 2 children and has moved here from Washington to pursue her relationship apparently with Mr. Cuff. Reasonable preference of a child doesn't apply. The employment schedules of the parties. Mrs. Cuff works in Brentwood and she has a Monday through Friday job, although I think she says she has to go in only on Wednesday through Friday. She actually has to be in Brentwood and she's available beyond that. Mr. Cuff has an unusual schedule and works from home because he's a software engineer. If I knew what a software engineer really did, I would understand your job a little more, but it sounds like to me that you're most of the time on a computer somewhere. So, but it does sound like to me that both of their schedules can accommodate any kind of care that the child might need. Whether either parent has had custody or parenting reduced, I don't find that to be a case, and I don't find any of the other factors that are relevant. So, having considered all of those factors, it is this court's opinion that the primary residential parent of the minor child should be the mother, Mrs. Kayla Michelle Cuff. Then I have to move to the setting of a schedule. And this is the more difficult part. The parties agreed to a schedule at the time that back in April of 2025 that it was not an entirely equal schedule, but it was certainly more than every other weekend. And in that schedule, the father was having time Friday at 3 p.m. to Tuesday at 7 a.m. when he drops the minor child off at daycare, and that's every other week. And then on the odd week, he has Sunday at 6 to Tuesday at 6 p.m. on the alternate week. So he picks the child up Sunday night, Monday night, and then returns the child all day Tuesday, and then returns the child at 6 p.m. in the alternate week. That's not an entirely equal schedule, but it's pretty close. And as a result of that, this court is of the opinion that on a permanent basis, until the child reaches a certain age, and I'll deal with that, but right now we're going to keep that schedule going as is previously ordered. This child is 3 years old. He'll be going into pre-K sometime either not next year or the year after. And then after that, it's going to be kindergarten. Right now, I'll need to go through, and I don't have a parenting plan before me, but the day in, day out schedule will be just as what they previously agreed, and I affirm that to continue. On the spring, once the child is in school, we'll have to deal with it, and I'm going to go ahead and put an order down to hopefully keep them from having to come back. Once the child is enrolled in school, then the Dixon County school system yearly calendar will apply. In addition to that, school breaks will be equally divided. Now, they can divide them 50-50. I think they've had 2 weeks in the fall and 2 weeks in the spring. They can divide that 50-50. During the summer vacation, right now, because the child is not enrolled in school, I'm nonetheless ordering that each of them have at least 2 weeks of extended summertime with the child. You'll have 2 weeks, they will be separated. So we'll just go ahead and say that you'll have a week in the month of June that you can do in it whatever you want to without having to worry about him. He'll have a week in the month of June. Your lawyers can decide which weeks you get. But he's going to have a week. If he wants to take the child to Florida, he can do it. And that's because he's his son and he's going to have that right. You will have the same right. And we'll go from there. He'll have 2 weeks, 1 week in June each and 1 week in July each, because school now starts in August, I think. Once school starts, they're going to alternate weeks. Once he's the school age and starts kindergarten and you're adhering to the school system, then he will have alternating weeks, so that during the school year, the schedule that you've been operating on will apply. When the school is out for the summer, it'll be alternating weeks. And this is about as fair as I can do as far as making, it's not exactly a 50-50 split, but it's pretty close to giving you what you want. All other holidays will be the same holidays that I have dealt with before. And I think the lawyers know that well enough to know that generally I'm going to be going by, one year you have the child for Christmas Eve and Christmas morning. The next year he has the child for Christmas Eve. If you two can't work it out, Ms. Duke and Ms. Roberts do a lion's share of domestic work, and they're both good lawyers, and they will represent you to the extent that they can, but they can also give you advice. So under the circumstances, they'll alternate the holidays under the usual schedule. If you run into a problem, you can get with me. I'm trying to think what else. I don't have a parenting plan to look at, but the next step would be to determine if there are any special considerations. The first thing, all decisions will be equal, jointly made, rather, with the exception that if the parties cannot agree, then they will be required to make they will have to have a discussion, and if the parties cannot agree, then the primary residential parent will have the final say. And that'll solve some of your problems about this T-ball stuff. I've been to T-ball games, I've been to soccer games for my grandchildren, and at this age, going to 2 games a day is a bit much, and I think that's probably something that needs to be avoided if possible. Let me look through this just to make sure I'm not omitting anything.
My client will keep health insurance, continue to
Pardon?
keep
My client will continue to keep health insurance.
All right, he'll keep health insurance. We'll calculate the child support based on his income, which he testified was 145,000, and hers was 81, I believe, thousand.
We have
No.
those numbers.
Right, and I think you took in exchange current. He's been paying for daycare.
He pays for daycare.
And
I'll
he's
tell
been
you
paying
both.
support too. Like, we don't have to do back support or anything. He's been paying
been
his
paying
support
child
since they sold the house.
Understand this, 2 of my grandchildren go to Walnut Street Church of Christ daycare. And as a result of that, I'm a big believer in the daycare that they offer because it socializes the children. It gives them an opportunity to make friends. And while I don't think it's required that you have to go there every day, I still think it's a good idea to have that regular activity. So that's why I consider daycare expense to be one of those things that can be considered in that. Now, I guess that then brings us down to the issue of Miss Ashley, who may be sitting in the courtroom. I don't know if
She is.
Ashley's in the
I asked
courtroom.
her to come in.
Judge, may I backtrack just 1 second? Can they alternate the child's birthday also?
It's the 22nd of the 8th of September, which the child is going to be in school, so it's difficult to do that. It's
Look,
they're going to do the day after.
Let me just give you both some advice. There is no reason in the world that you can't get together and have a birthday party on the child's birthday and have both of you and your significant others be present. And if you want your child to grow up well-adjusted and to have an opportunity to know that his parents are both mature individuals, then you will understand that you're going to behave in a way that puts his best interest first. You may not like his new person you may not like Ashley. I have heard nothing that indicates she is a threat or harm to this child. Obviously, the circumstances under which they came to be together is regrettable, but you may have a new person in your life soon that he may not like very much, and he may think he's replacing me as Bryce's father. The fact is, it's tough to him. If he didn't like that, he could have stayed married to you. So what I'm telling you both is you're going to have to start putting your child's best interest first and think about every decision you make interacting with the other parent about how it's going to impact your son. Because if you don't, if this animosity and this hostility continues and this gamesmanship continues where you try to manipulate things to help your advantage, if that continues, then you are going to ruin every major event in your child's life. Every birthday that he has to have separate birthday parties because his parents can't stand to be in the same room together, or their significant other, mom doesn't want to be or dad doesn't want to be around them. Every birthday, every major event, every holiday, every major event when he turns 18 and graduates from high school, both of you are going to want to be there. You're going to want to have a celebration for him. Why have to have 2 celebrations? Same thing goes with college education. If he goes off to college, Ms. Roberts can tell you, her son just graduated from with a master's in business administration. Ms. Duke's children are reaching that age. Having an opportunity for your child to see the 2 of you together and to see that you can be around each other and that there's not that type of animosity will be healthy for your child and give them an opportunity to grow up and have as normal a childhood as possible. For example, he's going to get married someday, I'm going to assume. And when he does, both of you would like to be there for that wedding, I would assume. And if you can get along well enough, then he can have a great event. If you can't get along well enough, he's going to be worried about how mom and dad can't stand each other and they're going to be fussing and fighting and ruin my wedding day. So think about things from that perspective and try not to use the child against each other and try not to put him in that situation. For that reason, at this point, I have no evidence to indicate that Mr. Cuff's fiancee, if in fact she is his fiancee, is a person that should not be exposed to your son. And I will say this, that if it comes to this court's attention that there is some reason down the road, then we'll take appropriate remedial action at that point. I don't expect that to be the case, but right now I don't have any reason to believe that she would be a harm to the child. They didn't exercise good moral judgment, but, you know, by the same token, he's going to have a long life. He's going to have to get used to people who might be doing things that we don't all agree with. So for that reason, I am lifting any restriction against Miss Ashley being around this child, and with the understanding that Mr. Cuff, your first responsibility is to your son, not to your girlfriend's or fiance's children, but to your son. And I can tell you that that relationship you might have with those children can create animosity or heartache for your son if he feels like you're putting more emphasis and placing them above him. So you're going to have to keep that in mind and make sure that he stays to be your first and foremost consideration. I think you both can be good parents. I think you are good parents. I think you've just had a rough patch to go through. It is never a lot of fun to go through a divorce. Ms. Roberts and Ms. Duke and I practiced law in front of Judge Leonard Martin, and he used to describe going through a divorce is like taking off all your clothes and running naked through a briar patch. It just hurts all over, and it does hurt. You have a feeling of betrayal, and Mr. Cuff ought to be having a feeling of failure on his part. But under the circumstances, you can get past that, and you're young, you have a long life ahead of you, and you can, rally from this situation and find yourself in a better situation. I hope that's what happens for both of you. I hope you have a stable environment in the future, and that this will end your animosity and your problems that you have. I'm not naive enough to think that it will be without problems, but always try to remember that those decisions you have to make, put your child's interest first. Anybody have anything I didn't cover?
I just have the point of clarification, if I could. The current schedule will continue, and the summer vacation they get 2 weeks until the child goes to school, then they do week to week.
When the school schedule with holidays and spring and fall and all of that covered, except for I'm talking about not holiday vacation. School breaks all come into play when the child enrolls in the school system as a kindergarten student.
The Tuesday, the same schedule as existence now, and he has every other week, he has Tuesday that he returns the child at 7 a.m. And just clarifying that the testimony is she goes into work at 7. She goes to work on Tuesday. Is there and the child is going to continue, does he still have an obligation when the child goes to preschool? The child's going to go to preschool starting in August, and I think the testimony was it's like a Tuesday, Thursday program, and it's a half a day. Whose time on one time he keeps till 6 o'clock on Tuesday, the other one is at 7 a.m. on Tuesday. Can we just do 6 o'clock on Tuesdays?
The children usually go back to daycare after that. They go back to daycare after preschool for the rest of the day. So
They have preschool for half a day, and then they are in basically playtime at daycare after that.
I'd ask that we keep it the same as the
So
temporary.
we just leave them
Well,
there.
but preschool doesn't start at 7 a.m. It usually starts at 8. So when he goes to preschool, can he just drop the child off when preschool begins?
They go to daycare first, but I don't know that 7 or 8, if he's got the child and he's dropping the child off.
I don't think it matters if he drops the child off.
That's my point. As long as the child gets to preschool on time, are we hard and fast at 7 a.m. is my question, is what I needed a point of clarification.
Hard and fast between 7 and 8 a.m. is fine.
Okay. And then when you did the 2 weeks, they're going to do the summer, again, he'll have the current schedule. Can we start it? Do we want to start when they have the week during the summer? What day? Do we want to run Friday to Friday?
My belief is Friday to Friday is the best scenario, because when they get to your house, and this is true, I think, in my opinion, if you were doing an equal week on, week off during the summer or whatever, he'll probably start carrying a bunch of stuff from your house to his dad's, and from his dad's to your house. And if you do it on Friday, he can get his stuff to your house, and then he's got the weekend to do whatever he wants to do before the week starts. So that would be my thought.
That exchange time can be after school on Friday. When they start school, they'll just do the Friday to after school.
At 6 p.m., she'll pick the child up and then they exchange the child.
I didn't know when the child starts school, whether we wanted to adopt it. And then the last thing to clarify is I just thought it would be easy, since it was testified in the hearing that he had the child on Easter this year in 2026. So we start our odd and even using the first we'll go from him having Easter in even years, and then we'll do the schedule around that. That seems to be a holiday to start with, since that was the last one he had. Is that okay?
It's fine. I think we just need to look and see if there are any holidays that maybe she had that he would get instead. We just need
Work it out. And if there is a holiday that one of them had that under this new schedule would be again to them, then maybe they can share it. This would be part of the trying to work together that I talked about. Easter is one of those days where both of you want to see your child on Easter. So, you know, you ought to work together to let both of you have, if you give them an Easter basket or whatever, then let it happen and both of you get an opportunity to see your child.
And then tax deduction.
As long as he's paying child support, and I'm assuming he will be paying child support, then as long as he pays current child support, they'll alternate year to year.
Who gets 26?
Who's claimed them last year?
They
File
filed
jointly
jointly.
for 2025.
She'll claim the first year.
She'll get even, and you'll get odd. It would benefit both of them. They both make money to where, but they both need the deduction.
I gave you both all day to give you every opportunity to express your thoughts and to get this out of your system, because I think that's healthy. I hated it when judges used to cut me off as a lawyer and not let my client say anything, tell me what he was going to do, and then the client walks out and says, I didn't get to say, I didn't get my say. I wanted to give you your say. You've had your say, and I've made the decision. I didn't ask to make the decision. I would have been glad for Judge Turnbow to make the decision, but I did it the best that I could do, and I wish you both the best in the future, and I hope that what I've done will try to give you an opportunity to have your son equally co-parent your son as best you can. So,
Thank you, Your Honor.
all right, who is drawing the order?
I think between the two of us.
Ms. Duke and I have several orders that we're going back and forth that is due from us, so we will see which one gets to it.
We're going to have a Friday night order sesh.
All right, then with that, we stand adjourned.
Thank you, Your Honor.